Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LFC Roundtable podcast. This is the podcast where we break down everything from the feeds. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is just Brent Walgamot for right now. How you doing, Brent?
I'm doing well. I am having a good time just having you all to myself, much like JC once with Tyler.
Yes, you're also occupying double the space right now because...
Are there two of me?
No, there's just one big one.
Oh, was that shade? Go to hell.
No,
yeah, whatever.
You're literally occupying Melissa's slot. Melissa should be joining us at some point. She got stuck at work, but hopefully will be joining in the call, which is why Brent is currently the size of two people, because once she comes in, it should fit in nicely.
Shade. Okay, yeah.
But we are here live on a Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern to argue about what's been happening on the Big Brother 20 live feeds, and we should be up on YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch, and we'll try and get the link out to you if the YouTube did not link correctly on the website.
Talk for a second while I try to help people get the link here.
Yes, all right, sounds good. So here we are, without Melissa, but still we're gonna carry on, and hopefully we'll get Melissa on soon. So it's been a understandably slow week, I think. I think that unfortunately we've had essentially a repeat situation going on. I think we can agree on that, right, Brent?
100%. There are some things that are happening that I think have exacerbated a little bit over the course of time, but I think that the natural occurrence would have happened anyway if last week had just led into a regular week instead of a battle back week, as last week did. So I feel like that's in some ways where we're at right now.
Yes. So it's we gotta do it. We gotta do it again. We just gotta get the person out again. So obviously, to recap the week, we started with Fessy being voted out by a vote of 4-1 after he goes for Angela in his speech, which apparently was the cause of Sam flipping her vote, but who knows? Sam obviously being the dissenting vote there against Haleigh, which is gonna piss Haleigh off, of course. And then we're gonna see Scottie win his way back into the house. I do think this was the best person to win his way back in. I think that he had the best shot of winning that HOH and probably had the best shot of reintegrating. But he spun out of control. He lost the HOH and is not going to reintegrate.
Yeah, it is really too bad. I had high hopes for Scottie entering the Big Brother house, coming back from jury, especially with a little bit of information. I think that it was very funny when he was talking to Julie Chen, and let me shut this down so I don't lag, right before he entered the Big Brother house, and he was like, Julie Chen's like, so what are you going to do? What's your strategy upon entering the Big Brother house? And he's like, well, Fessy was the strategy after that was so good the first time. So I'm going to, I'm trying to buddy up with Tyler and see how that goes. And I love Julie's face. She was, she wanted to tell him so bad. She was like, really? But she couldn't do that because she knows that we would shade her. So she was like, oh, excellent. And then who are you going to target? Well, probably Angela. Angela seems to be the problem. And I'm like, oh, that should go well. And so, even if he had won HOH, even if the wet dream of the producers had happened, Taran, and he won HOH, I think that still they would have found a way to faute this up.
Yeah, Julie has not been great with not showing her reactions to the house guests this season. Really letting it show on her face, like, oh, Tyler.
Oh. You don't say.
Yeah. But what are you gonna do? It's it's Julie. So Scottie comes back in. They go to the HOH competition, which is the hanging, spinning one that Vanessa won and that Victor won. And they're gonna compete here. and Scottie, like I said, is going to go out pretty early. It's going to come down to Haleigh and Tyler. There's been some ridiculous controversy.
You want me to talk about it?
Brent, I went on about it this morning. So Brent, feel free to describe the controversy.
You guys, here's the thing. Let me just say from the outset that no one would have loved to see Haleigh as an HOH more than me. You know, I love Haleigh. I mean, I think she's an idiot when it comes to Big Brother game, but I would have liked to see a more messy week, not something as cut and dry as what we got. So I would love to see Haleigh as the HOH. I would love to have seen Tyler not win HOH. I don't dislike Tyler, but I'm not particularly rooting for him right now because he has all his bases covered. Having said that, Tyler is the winner of this competition. It is cut and dried, 100% period, end of story. There have been many people in the past who have taken both of their feet off the disc at one time, okay? Believe me, there was a point in time where I was like, maybe this has legs, and now I'm like, this doesn't have legs. However, even if it did have legs, even if there was maybe he did break the rules and, maybe we didn't catch it at the time, even though we were supposed to, and that's our job. This is very akin to an NFL game where the commissioner comes on after the result and is like, I'm sorry, they should have called pass interference there. That really, really shouldn't have happened. My apologies. I mean, that's all there is no reversible error here. The week has already played out. Tyler has already showed his cards. The veto has already been won. Are we supposed to just redo all of that and erase all of that history? It is not possible. So even if there was legs to this, which there's not, but even if there was, there's no way that they ever were going to take an HOH away from Tyler. He is the clear winner of this HOH, and I think things are going to be fine from here on out anyway. So I don't know why people are the thing that annoys me the most is people are like, well, Haleigh should have won. Look, if Haleigh won, Sam would probably be going home right now, okay? Sam would probably, it would be just as boring, okay? I mean, I realize Scottie's family is not exactly happy right now. I see them tweeting up a storm about it, but whatever. I mean, like, he had a chance to come back in. He had a chance at the veto. He lost both of them. Girl, bye. I mean, it's more chances than most people get in a lifetime, and he had 2 sets of chances now where he has had a chance at an HOH and a veto, got evicted, had a chance at an HOH and a veto, got evicted. I mean, them's the breaks. So Scottie's going home.
Yeah, and like even if this was against the rules, which it's not, the idea that Tyler like cheated, like this was something that he planned to do to make it easier on himself, is utterly ridiculous. It makes it more difficult to not have your feet on the platform.
Right. I know. There's one more thing I want to say. This whole thing about having one foot on the platform, that is not, I've never heard the rules actually say that. That is house guest shorthand for you can't sit on your disc, okay? So their interpretation of the rules is, okay, we can't sit on our disc. We have, which, i.e., unless you want to hang like Tarzan, like Tyler did, you have to have one foot on the disc at all times. You can't sit on it. It's their shorthand way of trying to get across to you that they can't put their butt on the disc. But it comes off in a way where it changes the rules a little bit to a point where people get confused about what can and cannot happen, and it's just not true.
Yeah, and I'll repeat again, and I think it's the most important thing to say is that nobody in the history of this competition has ever been eliminated for their feet coming off of the disc. You have only ever been eliminated if you sit on the disc or if you fall completely off the disc. Those are the only ways people have ever been eliminated from this competition, and people have taken their feet off the disc before and not been eliminated. That should be end of story.
Okay.
But what are you going to do?
Carol asks an interesting question I had never thought of in the chat. She says, can you kneel on it? And as a aficionado of being down on my knees, I must say that I've never thought of this. I'm just kidding. That was fun. That was supposed to be fun. I don't know. This would seem to be a strategy that people might want to try, but I don't know. It may be against the rules. They may have told them that, you can't do something like this.
I'm like to look at like I imagine that basically if you're looking at like what is the spirit of the rule here, the point is you're not supposed to do anything that's going to make it easier on yourself, like sitting or kneeling on the disc. If you do anything that makes it more difficult for yourself, go ahead. Feel free to take your legs off of it. You're only going to make it way worse on yourself. I feel like that's clearly that's the point point of making the rule of you're not allowed to sit. Maybe they didn't think about the kneeling part. Maybe they do think about the kneeling part, and they tell them that they can't kneel. But the point is, like, this is definitely not cheating.
Definitely not.
At the very most, it is somebody who failed to be disqualified on a bad technicality anyway. And if he was disqualified for this, I think there would be more outrage over, like, what, really? He's disqualified over that? That's an incredibly dumb rule. So what are you going to do? But I think that's enough over something that really shouldn't have even been a talking point this week, but there's not a lot to talk about. So,
I feel like I feel like it's the result of not having much to talk about. Like the fact, by Saturday at 5 p.m., the week was done, honey. So I feel like that's in some ways, because I really didn't start hearing much about this until after that. Like, I even did a Periscope, I think on Saturday or Sunday, where people were really getting in my ear about it, and I feel like it's just a result of the fact that we don't have much to talk about, at least not lately.
Yes. So Tyler ends up winning this HOH. His initial thought is to put up Scottie and Haleigh, and because they're basically the only two in the house that he doesn't have a final two with, and he actually ends up going through with that and putting up Scottie and Haleigh, which usually isn't the case. Usually I say their initial thoughts and then the thoughts that were changed by other people, but of course
that's
Tyler
the difference.
Probably be the one changing the thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah. Tyler's like George W. Bush. He's the decider. You see. So when he decides, it's over.
Yeah. So Haleigh and Scottie go up on the block. Kaycee is going to win the veto. She is, of course, not going to use it, which leaves Haleigh and Scottie up on the block. During the week, however, we're also going to get some more information from Scottie about his time in the jury house and get some of the thoughts and feelings of the jury members. He says that they want to vote as a group so that they can control who wins the game, and he also mentions they really hate Angela. They've been they know her goodbye message. He knows her goodbye message word for word because it has been repeated so many times in the jury house. So we got a little bit of information there as well.
Yes, and I don't know if you want to wait till Melissa comes to talk about this, but obviously this is a big point of contention among the fandom about, and with all respect, your updates about how good or bad this is for the Big Brother game. And I definitely have opinions on it. I don't think it's going to be, in the end, as bad as we think it is, although it's certainly possible. I never thought that Paul could lose last season. I never thought that 5 people could vote as a block, as they did. And then it happened. So I think that all things are on the table here. I would just submit this, that I don't agree with this plan. However, 2 things are at hand. Number one, I think that Scottie and Haleigh are by far the 2 most likely people to not go along with it after they have dogged it in the Big Brother house. I mean, Scottie's been laughing at it like, oh, that's a terrible plan. Oh, yeah, superfans shouldn't do something like that. Haleigh's like, oh, that's terrible. You know what are these bitter people? Come on. So I think that they won't go through with it in the end. They might. Even if they do, I want to read to you what my friend Stina said on Twitter, and I share her opinion on this. So I am not as perturbed about it as you are, Taran Armstrong. So somebody was talking about the fact that the jury's going to vote as a block, and this is what she had to say. She said, what I'm saying is that if they end up doing that, meaning Faute, and they are Faute, so who knows what they will do, it's because they don't feel a personal connection strong enough with either person at the end to care, and that lack of emotional bonds would be a failure on level 6's part itself. So what she's saying is that, if you get to the end and they're to a point where they're going to vote for Kaycee because she's the most objectionable person there, I do feel like in some ways it is a reflection of Tyler's game. I'm assuming Tyler is the person with her. It could be Angela, it could be anybody, but let's just say it's Tyler, that he wasn't a little bit sweeter, nicer, talking with the jury members as they're going out, letting them know that they're being evicted. I mean, we talk about the famous level 6 blindsides. I really don't think in the end that helps Tyler as much as it's just great for the show. I feel like because he's a naturally social person and he is an empathetic person. I mean, he can get with people and make them feel what he feels. And so I do feel like in some ways he sort of missed the boat in terms of his, hesitate to say, jury management, in that he is not, basically he has disallowed himself the chance to do that. by blindsiding these people, not letting them know the truth about what's going on. Not that he has to expose the alliance, but like, hey, you're going home, and yes, I am voting to evict you because I have agreements with other people, because you're too big of a threat, because because you're one of the few people in the house that I don't have a working relationship with. I feel like that there were chances for him to build a stronger connection with the jurors, and instead he just sort of didn't. And I guess that's my question to you then. Do you think that there is any validity to that, or is it just sort of washing away this terrible plan of the Faute Five?
I think that I definitely disagree with the logic, because the problem with that logic is that it applies to absolutely anything. It washes away any sort of, like, it means that no matter what the jury does, it's the person's fault who the jury votes
But don't we
against.
always say that?
No. Definitely not what it definitely, because I've been vehemently opposed to that ideology for a long time, because it is not entirely, you cannot completely control 9 different people on a jury. Like, it is not entirely on them. There's a lot of luck involved. There's a lot of it's down to the jury and how they decide to vote. And like, yes, there are things that you can tie to, like when Paul treats Alex the way that he does, like insulting and demeaning and patronizing, and when Paul is calling Natalie the C word and doing things that are clearly just like really, really bad and obviously are not great jury management, then you can be like, yeah, he could have done a lot better. And we can probably point to, like, if you don't call Natalie the C word, if you don't act like she's trying to play James and make her pissed off at you, then maybe you get her vote and maybe you win the game. That's when we can say, like, yeah, this is Paul's fault. He did this to himself. But when it's like, well, if the jury decides to not vote for Tyler, then it's Tyler's fault. If the jury decides to vote for Tyler, then it's Tyler's fault. It's like, well, we're not really saying anything at that point. There's no analysis there. We're just blanket saying, if it happens this way, then here's why. If it happens this way, then same reason. And it's just like there's no truth to be found there, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Well, the truth that I think that is there is that his game begins this week. Like, the heart of Tyler's game begins this week with the goodbye messages and the way he treats Scottie, if he is the one who is evicted, going out of the house. I mean, Scottie trusts Tyler. I know he doesn't trust him as much now as he did when he first entered the house, but he really likes him. And for Tyler to act, oh, I don't know what happened. This is, I put you up and people just wanted you out. Like, remember when he told Scottie, you know what, I'm going to put you up, but no one wants you to go home. Everyone wants Haleigh out. And then on Tyler's HOH, Scottie's going to go home. How is that going to make Scottie feel, Taran? I don't think it's going to. Not very good. Like, he needs to start right now rectifying the way he treats the jury. Go ahead. Sorry.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if we want to analyze, like, how is Tyler treating Scottie right now? Is Scottie going to be mad that Tyler kept him in the dark and blindsided him, and wasn't man enough to tell him the truth? And then Scottie goes into the jury house and he's mad at Tyler for having treated him that way. Then we can say, Tyler mismanaged Scottie's jury vote, and that's on him. But it's when we talk about this in the sort of nebulous version of, all of these people are going to get together and decide amongst themselves that they want to vote for anyone but these people. We want to vote for the person who would represent our season the least because of whatever. Like, that's nothing to do
your version of it.
With Tyler.
To be clear,
right, I'm saying that if that was the case, not to say that that is the case. I'm talking only about that potential outcome, because that is something that Haleigh had talked about previously. It's something that and Scottie talks about them voting for all this. He talked about them wanting to control the outcome. They wanted to choose the winner themselves. And when it's the jury feeling like we want to leave our mark on the season and that's why we're voting a certain way, it really has so little to do with the people sitting there that I think at that point it's way more on the side of, like, let's talk about what the jury is deciding than what did the finalists do to make that happen, because the jury has been sitting in a house together for a month at this point, away from the influence of these other people, and they're not even citing those other people in any of of their reasonings, at that point we need to go, okay, this didn't really have all that much to do with, and obviously there's always something that we can point to say, well, you could have done this better. But that doesn't mean that that it's always their fault. It's a matter of degree. How much better could they have done? How much, is it something that like they played a lot of things perfectly and then a couple of things not quite as perfectly? Or is it like, do they have gaping holes in their game like Paul did, where it's like, well, I could have told you a long time ago that you're never going to get this vote because of the way you treated this person. The difference between a Tyler loss and an Angela loss, where it's like, Angela, you berated these people in your goodbye messages. You barely talked to them in the first place. What are you thinking? Of course, you're going to lose a jury vote.
And that's where I want to start. I do believe that there is some validity and some legs to the idea that it's okay for the Faute 5 to not vote for a few people that they find totally objectionable, because those people, i.e., like, let's just take Angela, they have become so objectionable. Like, here's the thing. If you become so objectionable to a point where someone on the jury, someone that you lived with, says, absolutely not, that person cannot win the game. It is against my moral being will not allow. I do not want that person to win the game. I feel like you've done something wrong. And here's the thing. I think in this Faute plan, I also don't believe that Tyler would necessarily fall prey to it. I think I feel like he actually might be one of the few people at the end who nobody has a problem. No one has veto. Just to be clear what we're talking about, because I think a lot of people don't understand how are 5 people going to agree on everything. What they're talking about doing is the Faute 5, meaning Scottie and Haleigh, if they eventually are evicted, will go to the jury, and there'll be 6 people left in the house, and those 5 people are going to each veto somebody that they don't want to win the game. Now, what's unclear to me in listening to Scottie is basically, can you veto the same person? Like, if Bayleigh vetoes Angela, if Rockstar, can Rockstar, does she have to name somebody else, or is it okay if she's like, you know what, I don't want Angela to win either, so I'm vetoing her as well? So there are a couple people on the table for them to vote for at the end. So basically, the people who are vetoed are not eligible to be voted for. So if there's someone who has been vetoed against someone in the final 2 who has not been vetoed, all of the Faute votes, supposedly, are going to go to the person I know, right?
It's such a Faute way of trying to decide, because it's such a you're at final 5, you're going to pick one of the people. Chances are that one person is not going to be in the final 2, at which point, what do you do? Also, how do you all choose, different people? And then what if the person left is like your second choice of the person you don't want to win, and you love this is such a weird and awful way of trying to decide.
Well, these are weird and awful players. And, by the way, if I may, since Melissa isn't here, I want to just take a minute or two to address a couple people. I'm a part of the Rob as a Patron group, and there are people in the Rob as a Patron group who give me feedback. And I've always said to people that I'm a fan first and a podcaster second. So that's how I go about things. I just want to make sure that people understand that I can objectively see and root for and applaud the game of level 6. And I would hope that you share my views on that, Taran, that, I have never been anything but respectful and, joyous over the fact that they have played an absolutely masterful game. The problem is that it's been utterly boring for people like me who root for conflict and like to see team good feeds when you have a house that basically is in agreement, nearly 100% of the time. Or on the other end of the coin, they're all sad when Tyler goes on the block. Like that 5 minutes that Tyler was on the block and everybody in the house was sad. Even Haleigh, who nominated him, was sad because everybody else was sad and she kind of had to fit in. Was freaking depressing. But it is a testament to his game that everybody was sad. That is his game, his social currency in the house was such that everybody felt completely horrible for him in that moment. It is grating to me as a podcaster, but as a fan of the game, which I've always said I'm never going to not be a fan of the game first and always a podcaster second. It's somewhat frustrating for me to see. So I want you guys to know that I have had an absolutely wonderful time covering Big Brother 20. It's been one of the best seasons in years. I still think there's a lot of game to go. I say snarky comments on Twitter like, oh, great, we're here for another rip-roaring week, Taran. Now that Scottie's back in the house when things started to play out as we predicted. But, I feel like you guys just need to separate my snark from the reality. And the reality is I can recognize good game when I see it, and I'll be the first person to stand up and applaud it. So, enough with the comparisons of people in the past who might have covered Big Brother for Rob as a podcast. I am not those people. I might share their passion, but I definitely don't have their instability. And so I feel like that's where we're at, Taran. And are you good?
Well, I will say I feel like it's a disservice to the cast to blame them for the slow couple of weeks. I feel like I think both sides have been an essential part of what's made this season so great up until this point, which is that Faysal is so entertaining, dysfunctional on one side, and Level 6 is so effective and unafraid on the other side. Where like in so many seasons, while Faysal is dominating the competitions, the other side would be bending over backwards to please them and give them unanimous votes and all of this stuff. Level 6 continually worked extremely hard, and they're an essential part of what made it so entertaining. I think the issue in the last couple of weeks has become, this is sort of a natural slowdown while we finish off the rest of these people, and it's been elongated by these twists that have put a little slowdown on the gameplay. I do think it's going to kick back up, and that's because there are people in this house and in this alliance that are very very self-serving and very self-interested, and they want to take some shots. There is a chance that we get unlucky with the competition outcome for sure, but I don't think that's a shame on the players or the season as a whole. I think it's just like we could get unlucky, and that would be unfortunate. But I do think that hopefully we're in for a thrilling ending to a thrilling season.
I would say that up until Tyler won HOH, we have had really good luck when it comes to the HOHs. I mean, you can laugh all you want, but Fessy evicting Scottie, as infuriating as it was to me, was one of the most amazing weeks in Big Brother looking back on it. Haleigh having to evict Rockstar on her HOH, I will submit that the hacker twist probably slowed down the season, is a reason why things are happening a little bit right as they are right now. But nevertheless, that was also amazing. Bayleigh going home. I mean, my God, that was an amazing week when she was backdoored by Angela, like Ice Queen Angela, so cutthroat. Like, Bayleigh, would you like to have a seat? Like, come on. And then before that, the pre-jury was all wonderful. I mean, week after week, the swing vote winning HOH. So if we do get a little unlucky at the end, I feel like we've sort of paid for that along the way for having such a great season. But I'm hopeful that we can continue this run of really amazing people. And by the way, Stacked, one of our moderators in the chat, I am in the chat. Stacked is like, I don't see you in the chat. Is it a malfunction? Where are you? I am here, but given that it's just me and Taran, it's very difficult for me to chat, because usually if there's three of us, then I can get away with chatting sometimes with the people in the chat. But given that it's me and Taran, I'm liable to start chatting with you, and Taran's asking me a question, and I'm like, huh? What'd you say? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
I feel like this season so far has had 2 slow weeks, and it's been the past 2 weeks with Fessy leaving and with Haleigh leaving. I think that the hacker twist when we lost Rockstar, we was sort of exciting to watch that, but we paid the invoice with that. For that with last week, and now we're paying the invoice for the battle back with this week, and it really is, I think, directly tied to they introduce a twist. If it's not completely disregarded like a lot of these powers, then we're gonna have to pay for it in terms of slow weeks in the house. Despite that, I do enjoy the fact that all of the twists have failed this season. The most successful one you could say would be the second week of the hacker, maybe, where we got out, big name Rockstar. Congrats, twist. So there's that. So there we go. That's the Scottie information. Another event that's going on this week. Tyler has been getting closer to Angela. They've finally kissed. They've made out a little bit. Tyler's getting to the point where he's talking about like, I couldn't live in this house without you. And I don't know if this is because he's really, really into Angela or because he's hearing about how much the jury hates Angela. It's probably a little bit of both. But Melissa has joined us finally. How are you doing,
has
Melissa?
Her air conditioner.
No, it hasn't. It's not even on.
Okay, it went away.
She's got the wrong mic on at
I have
the
the
moment,
wrong
so she'll
mic
have
on.
to switch
I just jumped in. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'll switch it.
Okay, well, you fix that real quick. A wild Melissa has entered the room, ladies and gentlemen. So
Yes.
she's
Yes,
here.
I'm so sorry, everyone. Okay, now it should be working.
There we go.
Perfect. Yay, sorry, guys. I'm here.
Excellent.
I'm sick.
Well,
So
we'll
we
continue
just
on.
started talking
Yeah, go ahead.
about Tyler and Angela and how they're getting closer in the house, and we talked about it this morning that JC is essentially playing detective. I got some great photoshopped JC as Sherlock Holmes and Brett as Watson photos.
I want, you know what I want? I want JC walking up to the HOH room with the theme from the Pink Panther. I want that. Dun, 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 like him, like sneaking up there. I think that would be great. I need to see that.
That would be really great.
Yes. I love the fact that he caught. It's like, this is like, oh my God. This is like me, like doing something with a guy when I was like 17 in my parents' house. And then like, you have to like pull up your pants real quick because mom is coming in the room. Like, that's exactly what's happening with JC and Tyler and Angela. Where literally Angela, like a child, runs from the bed to the couch and is like huffing and puffing. And JC is like, I know what you're doing. I've tried that trick before myself. So I thought it was great that he caught them. I know Tyler is just incredibly annoyed with JC, and I also love the fact that JC cannot take a hint. Like Tyler's like, I was very taken with your feedback, Taran, of with Jenny on the feedback show today, because she was correct in that Tyler really can't give any good arguments to JC about why he should not be concerned about him and Angela. Tyler's response is basically, "Look, I got it. It's under control. Don't worry. I'm with you. Don't worry. I got her. Don't." There is no logic to it. There is no substance. There is no there. So I feel like that in some ways JC knows he's right to be concerned. Tyler knows that JC's right to be concerned, but they're still trying to argue about something without any logic, Melissa. So I feel like it's going to. I can't wait for the fireworks if we get a really good HOH this week.
Yeah, that's the thing is I feel like JC is totally right in this, in that he should be concerned about Tyler and Angela. And normally we'd all be like, yeah, JC, good, you're recognizing this. But the problem is he's going straight to Tyler and talking to him about it and like chastising him for being with Angela, when instead it's like he should be recognizing this and being like, okay, shoot, I need to go to someone else because Tyler's obviously not going to listen to reason on this. I need to go to like Brett or Haleigh or somebody and be like, hey, do we all see what's going on here? And then get Angela out so that way Tyler is back on his own again. If JC can figure out a way, I just feel like JC's not going to get anything done by going to Tyler and being like, you shouldn't be with them. It's honestly, it's like you were saying with the parents thing. It's like when your parents tell you not to be with someone and you're like in high school and you're like, oh, he's not right for you. Don't be with him. And it like draws you to them more. Not saying that that's my life, but I'm just saying that generally that's like a cliche. And so he just shouldn't be talking to Tyler about any of this. He shouldn't voice his concerns. He should just pretend like he's super cool and chill with the whole thing, like Kaycee is, where Casey's kind of like ragging on Tyler, but not really like saying like, don't be together. This is wrong, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, it's really it's very apparent, and Tyler's even gonna ask like, Jason, are you just concerned that I'm gonna pick her over you? And he's like, yeah. It's like I've worked so hard in this game. And you're the person that I've been working toward. If you betray me for Angela, then I'm screwed. And like JC doesn't realize that he's been planning on betraying him for Kaycee all along. So it's actually not that different. But JC can see this one coming, and he's like, this is no good. But like complaining to Tyler about it is not gonna solve his problem. You can't like just in the same way that Melissa you're talking about, you can't like reason your child out of dating the bad influence. You're not going to be able to reason Tyler out of not out of wanting to hook up with the fitness model. That's
the thing is I honestly think that JC believes that he can go to Tyler and be like, Tyler, what are you doing? You and I are a thing, not you and Angela. And then Tyler's going to be like, oh my God, you're so right. I'll do whatever you want. I want to be with you. You mean way more to me than Angela. And it's like, there's no way that's happening. But I guess because JC feels so strongly about his relationship with Tyler that he like just wants that to happen and he believes it will. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is like he's wishful thinking that Tyler will turn around and be like, will come out of this fog like, oh my God, it's you. It's always been you, which like isn't going to happen. But, you know.
Yeah, this is essentially like he's Fessy has really rubbed off a lot on JC. He's like, I've done so much for you, Tyler. You owe me.
I know, it's true. It's like Fessy leaves and we're like, oh, thank God we're rid of that. And then it's like, oh, no, wait, here it is right now with JC. He's taken up the mantle.
Yes, well, JC, because of this Tyler-Angela romance, is now really trying to stir the pot quite a bit and get it into Brett's head that they need to take a shot. And it does seem like it's working to a decent extent. That Brett is also a little bit concerned about Angela and her relationship with Tyler, and especially her relationship with Kaycee, and what that means for him looking in on the outside of level 6. And so he is... they're starting to plot some schemes together, Melissa.
Yeah, and I think this is really good for them. I do think that both Brett and JC should be concerned. I think that they're smart to think about it. And you know what? It makes me really happy that Brett is thinking this way. Bless you. Because I think that a lot of the times you see a situation where a strong alliance is just strong the whole way and the people on the bottom don't realize they're on the bottom and they just think what's best for all is best for me. And I'm glad that Brett is thinking ahead and thinking like, okay, I want to stay true to the alliance and stick with it, but at a point it's going to look real bad for me personally. So I need to start thinking up contingency plans right now. And I think it's really astute the way Brett is looking at it and the way JC is looking at it is like they're not in the core part of the alliance. They're kind of on the outside. And it's good that they're looking at their own positions in such a realistic way, and they're not trying to convince themselves that they're in on everything and they're a big part of it and they need to stay true to their alliance. I think it's good that they're recognizing it now, so that way they can start planning now to make a move, because now it's starting to get to that time.
Yeah, and I think the move that they're contemplating is the correct one for the most part. Again, I think they're underestimating Kaycee and her chances of being taken to the end by Tyler. For all we know, the last we heard from Tyler, he wanted to take Kaycee to the end. I don't know if that's still true, especially given what he's heard about the jury and his growing feelings for Angela. Now it might be Angela. So I would have said definitively last week that the right move would be to take Kaycee out, actually, because once you remove Kaycee, Tyler has to find a new final 2 person, and it seemed like he didn't want to take Angela, but that might have changed now, so I can't even say one way or another which is the person they should be trying to take out. I think either way, he would probably just take the other woman from level 6 to the final 2 if they took one of them out. So they'd have to take both of them out, which at that point, why aren't you just taking out Tyler? Because he's the much bigger threat anyway. So, it's really just... They feel, and I do think that losing Angela or Kaycee would be a big detriment to Tyler's game, because once you remove the quote unquote pair of Angela and Kaycee, I think then somebody like Brett would start to look at it and be like, wait a minute, now I'm looking at Tyler or Kaycee. Instead of Tyler or Kaycee and Angela, it's Tyler or Kaycee, and at that point you're like, maybe I want Kaycee, actually, now that I'm looking at this in a new light. The only reason Brett is concerned about Angela and Kaycee is because JC is trying to protect Tyler, and JC is constantly telling Brett, don't worry about Tyler, he's not in there yet. It's mostly Kaycee and Angela. They're the people that have been together all along, and Tyler is sort of like the recent addition, but if we get rid of one of the women, then we'll be able to drag Tyler over to our side, and everything will be okay. Well, the 3 of us will go down to the end, and so it does look like they talked about as recent as last night. They talked about taking a shot at Angela, potentially doing a backdoor situation, which could work at Final 7. All they would need to do is, if Haleigh is off the block, then they need Haleigh's vote, or actually, it might not work actually, because they'd have Haleigh's vote, but Sam would be on the block,
Right.
so that wouldn't work. They'd need 2 votes. JC, say Brett was HOH, he put up Sam and Haleigh, he won the veto, he took one of them down, he replaced that person with Angela. He would then need either Sam's vote or Haleigh's vote, with the other one on the block, in order to send Angela home. I'm not sure that would work now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really risky move because, I mean, I think if you had Sam off the block, she would vote to evict Haleigh. But I think if you had Haleigh off the block, Haleigh would recognize that she needs to make a bigger move than Sam. So I think that it's possible.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you would hope so. You never know these days. But you would think that if Haleigh's off the block, there's a better chance of that person getting evicted. But at the same time, it's like you win veto and take Haleigh off the block. I mean, it's already going to be like super obvious what's going on and that you're working with Haleigh. I just feel like it's really risky. They're going to find out either way that you're like not working with them. I feel like you might as well just go for it. If you're going to take the shot strong and put them both on the block to begin with.
Well, I do feel like there's some validity, especially for Brett, if he's in this position, for like put Sam and Haleigh on the block initially, and then try and gauge whether or not you think you can get their vote before you take them off the block. If it's feeling shaky to you, don't use it. You were loyal all along. If you feel like you've got it locked in, then take the shot and hope it works. Because the problem that I think Brett is figuring out, that if he's HOH and he puts both Kaycee and Angela on the block, is that if Kaycee, Angela, or Tyler, if any of the 3 of them win veto, then one of those people are coming down, and he'd have to either nominate Tyler as the replacement, which would piss Tyler off and ruin all, and then he's pissed off his entire other alliance, and he's kind of in trouble there. Or Tyler has won the veto and can't be replaced, and in either way, he'd probably have to put somebody else up and be in the same position he would have been otherwise. So I do feel like the backdoor plan makes more sense for Brett to try and feel out the move first. But it's risky regardless. I do get the feeling that he would rather not do it, but I think JC would also rather not do it. They're both in a position where the move has to be made, but the person that makes the move is going to take a lot of damage from the move.
They're going to be in trouble.
And the person who gets to sit back and watch the move happen is going to benefit more from it. So it's a tricky spot to be in.
Yeah, I feel like their best case scenario would be to have Haleigh win HOH.
And then convince her to make the move for them.
And then have her make the move.
Which she should. She should absolutely not target
which
Sam.
They
but
already think is going to happen anyway. I feel like I'm setting myself up for like huge disappointment. But I was about to say, which now I don't know if you even want to say it, but I was about to say like I have faith that Haleigh will make the right move. But
never have faith in Faysal.
I've said that so many times, and now I don't know. Like I just don't know anymore. I can't with confidence say that.
It's crazy that like that even people who don't like level 6 might have to root for a level 6 win in Brett over a Haleigh win this week, because you'd be more confident that Brett is willing to make the move than Haleigh.
Which is insane. Like we shouldn't be thinking that at all. I mean, if we're talking about like show Haleigh, where you have like these amazing diary room sessions where she seems to know exactly what she needs to do and seems to be trying to do everything that you would hope for in a player. And then it's like, oh, wait, in real life, who knows what's going on?
Yeah. Dangerous stuff. All right. So we got Brent back.
We did get Brent back. Sorry, that took a lot longer to refresh than I thought. I was aghast. I was near collapse. I thought, oh my God, like I told them I'd be back in like 1 minute. It took like 10.
There you go. It happens. So right now, it looks like the vote will be the same exact statement as last week, looking like either a unanimous vote or a 4-1 vote, depending on what Sam does. They would once again like Sam to be a vote to evict Haleigh, because that continues to play into their whole feud thing. So if they can swing that, great. If not, it's going to be unanimous. It does look like Scottie will leave. I know some people are a little hopeful after the conversation Scottie had had with Brett that maybe Brett is willing to look into the option of keeping Scottie, but nothing has really progressed with that today. I really don't think this is going to happen. I don't even think that Brett really wants it to happen, and even if he did, I don't think he could get other people on board at this point. But it's always a chance. There's always a chance. So it could be something that maybe happens, but I would not hold out hope.
I feel like he is willing to provide a vote for people if they want to do something with the plan this week. Like if Angela got pissed off with Haleigh or Tyler got pissed off with Haleigh and they want to switch it up and they want to evict Haleigh and keep Scottie, I feel like he'd love to go along with something like that. But outside of that, there's no way he's going to move mountains to try to save Scottie, because effectively that would be showing his hand too soon that he's starting to disagree with his alliance, and he cannot have that right now. If he's going to make a move, if he's going to make a move, it cannot miss. And trying to save Scottie really doesn't gain him much if other people are not on board with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right. So let's move on to the state of the house here. Once again, it's basically exactly the same as it was last week. Not much has moved. We've got Tyler, Angela, Kaycee, and Brett with JC attached. At this point, I'm not even going to count Sam as attached to level 6. She's really mostly just attached to Tyler. Then we have, instead of trying to name all the various pairs, because almost all of them are Tyler, I'm just calling this the Tyler's Final Two segment. Tyler and JC, Tyler and Kaycee, Tyler and Brett, Tyler and Sam, Tyler and Angela. You might even count Tyler and Scottie, but Scottie's going to be leaving, so might as well not. So Tyler's got all of these final twos. He's in a pair with all of these people. Obviously, his final two with Angela is not official, but let's be real, they're making out.
That's so odd. Yeah. The one person besides Haleigh that he doesn't have a final two with is Angela, and yet they're in a showman's together.
Yeah. I
guess he doesn't need to say it. I feel like it's understood. I feel like that's
exactly
what's going on.
Like, Tyler on the episode is like, I've got a final two with all these people except for Angela, but I think I'm good with Angela. So
I think I'm good. Yeah.
Scottie and Haleigh are obviously kind of working together, but one of them's going home, so it doesn't really matter. And then really the only other thing, the only grouping of people that doesn't have somebody about to go home and disintegrate it is JC and Brett, that does not involve Tyler, but they're both working with Tyler separately, so that doesn't really count. But JC and Brett are kind of working together. They are hatching this plan that we talked about, so they are the hope to throw some chaos into this end game, which should be some fun. But like I said, basically the same structure as last week.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all just like, yep, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I was hoping for a little more fireworks after the Labor Day extravaganza, where there was lots of alcohol involved, and the fact that JC is also a have-not. Maybe like tonight and going into tomorrow, JC will start to get even more riled up because Angela and Tyler continue to spend time together, and he's a have-not. Like, he got out of the have-not cycle like last night because it was the Labor Day thing. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like we need another day for him to be really miserable, and then maybe something can happen with JC.
that is something worth mentioning. JC is currently in a feud with production.
Yes.
He blames them for making him a have-not because the have-nots were chosen as the first 3 to drop out of the HOH competition. So he's very mad at them, and he feels like they were given alcohol while he was a have-not on purpose. I
love Angela downstairs showing him the alcohol, and he's just glaring at her. He's so mad.
Yeah.
Oh, it was rich.
So he's trying to fight with production. He tried to stay in bed as long as possible today, and like, I'm not going to give them any entertainment. Screw production. There's only so much value you have. They may love you in the diary room, but you piss them off too much. I'd be worried about that, JC.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You guys ready for the stock watch?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
All right.
We is the link, but yes.
Let's get into it then. Here we are, right there. All right. Well, for the first time, usually Tyler is the last person we talk about, but he is once again, the HOH. So let's kick off here with Tyler, who last week I had him at a 9. You guys all had him at an 8, including the audience, for an average of $8 as a price point. For anyone that doesn't know, for whatever reason, the stock watch here, we each are going to rate each of the players remaining in the game based on their how well they're doing this week in the game. We also polled the audience. You can find that form on my Twitter page at Armstrong Taran if you want to participate. And we have the audience rate their games 1 to 10 as well. And we're going to combine all of those scores into one price that we use in the stock market of Big Brother 20. And so we're going to talk about Tyler first. He's definitely he won HOH. He's essentially resetting himself back to where he was the week before. He knows a little bit more about what the jury is thinking. That's probably helpful. He won a competition, but nobody seems to be all that concerned about the fact that he can win these competitions. They're still targeting anybody but Tyler. I don't know. Do you guys think that he's moved at all, or is he the same? Is he better? What do you think, Brent?
This is so difficult for me to grade him because on the one hand, I feel like his game is beginning to unravel slightly in that he is losing control of JC. JC wants to target people that are close to Tyler. Tyler does not want to see Angela and Kaycee go up on the block. I feel like he has lost currency with Brett in a way that is not good for level 6. And so in those ways, I feel like his game has gone down. However, even in the universe where Brett or JC or Haleigh or anybody takes a shot and Angela goes on the block, I don't think Tyler goes up on the block with her. It's always going to be Kaycee. I actually think if they thought it through, it should be Tyler and Angela and really just use him as a pawn because everybody loves him. He would fight it tooth and nail, but, screw him, do whatever you want. And he would also use the veto on her. That might eventually come to a head. I don't think this coming week, but the next week. As things currently stand right now, I see no scenario where he could go home. He is perfectly positioned within a house that has, people playing. I mean, that cannot be overstated enough that, some of them may be dunderheads, but at least they are playing, unlike what was happening last season where people were just trying to get one person to the end. They want to win the money. They want to win the game. They don't want Tyler to win the game. I make jokes all the time that they're, trying to get Tyler to the end, but that's just shade. They are playing to win. So I am a little fencerton about this rating because I want to give him a 10 because I feel good about his game because no one's going to evict him. But I do feel like he's losing control a little bit. And having heard the things that I've heard from the jury, I also feel like that there may be landmines for him in a potential final 2. However, I do not think you can play better at this point in the Big Brother game than Tyler is right now, being such an obvious target with 2 HOH wins, 3 veto wins, an absolutely phenomenal social game, and not one person wants him out. Yeah. So it's somewhat illogical, and that's just how I grade sometimes, but I'm going to give him a 10. I feel like he has done amazing work this week. It's just amazing to me how he goes undercover on a week where he's the HOH.
I know. It's insane.
And give it up to him. That's go on with your bad stuff, honey. All right.
I need a sound drop for 10s and 1s. I need to work on that.
Okay.
There you go. 10 from Brent. The very first 10 Brent has ever given out. The second of the stock watch as a whole. Melissa, where are you going to land on Tyler?
See, that's the thing. I agree with all of Brent's analysis in that it's insane to me how he still is seemingly under the radar when he's won a ton of competitions. He's HOH currently. He has a final 2 with everybody. I don't know how he's gone under the radar for so long. And that it's crazy to me. I mean, he's doing such a great job. And yes, there are, issues with his gameplay in terms of okay, this showmance thing, not great. The fact that most people think that he's a dummy and that he's getting controlled by these women, first Kaitlyn and now Angela. I don't think that's great for his end game, but I agree with Brent in that I don't see a way he's getting evicted anytime soon. So like that's something to worry about down the line. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, he's likely going to get down the line and get that opportunity to explain himself to the jury. And maybe now that the battle back is over, he'll be able to fully explain his game in these goodbye messages. So, and I mean, now that Scottie is back in and he explained that, yes, they do see everybody's messages. They don't just see these little tiny snippets of a couple people that production chooses. So I think possibly as we get down the stretch, Tyler's going to be able to fully explain his game and they'll be able to see that he's not just this stupid surfer bro and that he actually is controlling the game. So I don't feel quite like giving him a 10 yet, but I'm gonna give him a 9.
All right. Yes. I feel pretty similarly. I feel like I gave him a 10 2 weeks ago. I feel like my one thing that was almost holding me back from that 10 was that the showmance was starting to grow. I feel like that showmance has blossomed into a kind of problem for him. But even then, like when we talk about problems for Tyler, it's like the problem is that he might not go home and somebody else who is an ally might go home in a house where everyone is an ally. So it's not even that much of a problem, but it's definitely not good for him if JC or Brett take the shot at Angela. It wouldn't be the best thing in the world. And if he was able to prevent that, that would be better, but that's very nitpicky. And if it was just that, I would probably still give him a 10. But then also hearing about the jury and how they might not vote for him, that's I actually don't think it's likely. I actually feel like Tyler is probably one of the more likely people to win a jury vote still, despite what we're hearing from Scottie. However, I feel like the door, while the door is always open for but what if that doesn't happen? And I think it's been opened a bit wider by the information we got from Scottie. That possibility is a little more real. So that's a little bit concerning. And then I'm not sure who he's planning on taking to the end. And I do feel like he has a better shot against Angela than Kaycee. And it does feel like maybe he's shifting over to maybe taking Angela instead of Kaycee. But and that might not even matter. But all of these tiny little things do kind of add up to, once again, for me, giving Tyler a rating of 9 out of 10.
Can I ask one question really quickly? I feel like that Tyler's game will be won or lost on the fact that whether or not he's able to take Angela to the end. He may be able to win against Kaycee, but I feel like if he takes Angela, it's an absolute slam dunk. Based on the information that's coming, I feel like he should be able to discern that Angela is the appropriate choice. My question is, I haven't seen that Kaycee is aware that Angela is so hated. Did I miss a conversation that they told that basically what I need to know is Kaycee aware that Angela is so hated? Because then if she's aware of that, she might start to be onto the fact that Tyler might want to take Angela to the end and not her, and thus she might make a play against him. So, I know it's fan fiction at this point, but in a universe where she starts to feel like that, like JC is feeling right now, like, hey, I might be the odd man out in a threesome here. Does she know that Angela is so hated?
I think she does know. I mean, she's heard the talk about how Angela's hated and they hate her goodbye messages. Like, she's heard all of that stuff too. But I think based on my read on Kaycee right now, I think she is the kind of person that would go to the final 3 knowing, I know I have a better shot against Angela, but I've been loyal to Tyler from day one.
Okay, she's Cody. Okay.
I think so.
Cody.
I think so.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So I would not, there's always a chance, but I would not hold out hope. Okay. I wouldn't.
Go ahead. Moving on. No.
Yes.
We'll talk about somebody else. Right. Moving on.
So I give him a 9, Brent a 10, Melissa a 9. The audience not quite as high as us. Still an 8 from the audience.
Haters.
Yeah,
why can't you get on board with the Tyler train? Come on.
Yeah, if Brent's on board, then the rest of you all need to jump on. That's impressive.
Well, it's still going to be a price of $9 at the end of the day here. So next up, we've got Haleigh, who got straight 3s last week. It was looking like she might leave, but the battle back was going to happen, so we knew she probably wouldn't, because we knew Scottie would probably leave instead of her. So what do we think? Has anything changed here for Haleigh, Melissa?
Not really. I mean, I guess the fact that she's not going home this week is a good thing. But I don't really see a way for her to get a hold on the game and, get a good placement going forward. I just feel like she's kind of just in this bad place. And maybe she'll go along for maybe a couple more weeks, depending on when if JC and Brett decide to make a move. But I don't really even see them turning to Haleigh and being like, Haleigh, we want to work with you. I just see them using her for a vote for a week and then getting her out. So, I mean, unless she can beast these competitions moving forward, I don't really know. And now the fact that Scottie came back in and basically confirmed to them that that the jury would vote for Haleigh over anybody. I don't think anyone is taking Haleigh to the end. So I don't even think it's a situation where it's possible that she gets dragged to the end because she has no allies. I really think they're going to try and get rid of her sooner rather than later, just because the jury loves her and she already has these locked in votes. So, I'm just going to, because she's staying this week, and I'm just going to keep with my 3, I think.
Yeah, this is very difficult. Oh, go ahead, Taran. Go ahead.
Yeah, I gave her 3 last week because she wasn't going home last week. I felt like she probably wouldn't go home this week because there'd probably be somebody that came back in the battle back that would be a target ahead of her, and that having a whole week of buffer time would give the house a chance to shake up a little bit. Maybe there's a chance that things work out a little bit better for her, and things would play out in a certain way. They haven't. If anything, I'm more convinced that she would actually target Sam if she got power, and the fact that she has 4 completely guaranteed locked jury votes, while I thought was a positive thing and still is a positive thing for her game, now everyone knows about it because Scottie came back in and blabbed this information everywhere. So I feel like she's even less likely to somehow appear like the pawn and get herself down to the end that way. So I've gone I'm lower on her game this week than I was before, slightly. I'm gonna give her a 2.
Wow. Well, I agree with you guys that there's virtually no chance for her to get to the end. But I feel like in some ways her game is a tale of 2 stories this week because she has done good work in the Big Brother house. She has cozied up to Angela and Kaycee, more so Angela, to a point where I feel like that on balance, they would probably rather evict somebody like JC or Sam over Haleigh if you put a gun to their head and said, who do you really want to evict? Now, given that Tyler cannot be HOH this coming week, I do feel like there is a world or two where JC or Brett take a shot and try to get somebody out. I feel like there's a world where maybe Sam puts up Angela and Haleigh, and maybe there's a way to get Angela home if Haleigh wins the veto. But there's not many. The problem is that her paths are very limited, and even the people that would work with her would only work for her for a limited amount of time. So I give her credit for the work that she's done in the house, but there is no viable way. And by the way, I'm so frustrated with Scottie, but we'll get to him about all the stuff he's blabbed in the Big Brother house. So I gave her a 3, and I feel like even that's a generous mark this week.
Yes. The audience also gives Haleigh a 3. So everyone's basically the same on Haleigh except for me. I've gone down a little bit there. Next up is Scottie, who did not have a rating last week because he was not in the house. But what are you going to do? He had a rating of an average rating of $2 on his eviction week, I guess you would call it. And looking like he's got another eviction week this week. So I don't expect his price to really go anywhere here. Brent, what do you think?
I mean, I'm giving him a 1. I don't feel like I can give him anything other than a 1. He came back in a second chance. Again, like I said earlier in the podcast, more chances than most people have in the Big Brother house. He's done absolutely nothing with him. I thought he would have a good chance to win the standing on the disc spinning competition. He didn't. I thought he would have a great chance to win the veto. The couch won. I mean, what are you going to do? If you're Scottie, you go back in the Big Brother house, you work with a guy. Basically, Julie was asking him, so what are you going to do to change it up? And, he was trying to work with Tyler the first time around. He thought that Tyler was his friend the first time around. And then he says, you know what, I'm going to work with Tyler. And then Tyler puts him on the block, and he believes him that he's the pawn. And, the other thing that should be telling to Scottie is the fact that nobody's really making plans with him for the coming week. They're not really talking to him about what they would do if he won HOH. And that is the telltale sign of somebody who is going to evict you. So he doesn't even realize that. It looks like, I mean, I think he might have a feeling, but he doesn't. There is no urgency to his game. Again, I can't remember who was it. Maybe it was you guys. Maybe it was both. I don't know. But somebody was talking about the fact that, when they announced the Labor Day grill party and everyone went, woo! Scottie was on the couch and he absolutely did nothing. And I can't remember who it was on Twitter who said that half the time it looks like Scottie is Scottie doesn't think he's playing the Big Brother game. Scottie thinks he's watching the feeds from within the Big Brother house. That's what Scottie's doing. So I feel like there's just no urgency.
Yes. Lost. Oh.
I further. Oh, what? Am I here?
Yeah, you cut out a little bit, but you're
I cut out. I was every time I start to rant, it's like you hack me or something. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's the new me. Every time I would start a big speech where I thought I had something really important to say, it would cut out.
What? Scottie, what the hell are you doing? Telling everybody these secrets about the jury, you idiot. Like telling them that everybody would basically vote for Haleigh, that Angela is the most hated. Why are you telling them that Angela is the most hated? That means they will take her to the end, you dunderhead. What are you...
You go in, you say, if Angela is your target, you say, they think Angela's the front runner. They think Angela's running the game right now, and that it's her game to lose.
He likes being a source of information. He likes being the person that people are coming to, being like, what's going on in there, and asking him all these questions and describing everything to them. And he likes being the center of attention. And, so that's why he's just like spilling everything out. And honestly, I can't say I wouldn't do the same, because if everyone's coming to me and I had all these facts, I feel like I wouldn't be able to keep it in, even though I would want to.
Not a good secret keeper.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I do feel like, Brent, you talked about Scottie, like, what is he going to do to change up his game? I feel like that's sort of the hilarity of his predicament, which is like he was working with Fessy and Haleigh when he got evicted. Like, that did not work for him, clearly. So then he goes back in trying to work with Tyler, but that's also not going to work, because neither is going to work at this point. No matter what, he can work with one side, he can work with the other side. Nothing's going to work at this point. He's already locked out of the game. And that's why... yet another reason why the battle backs are annoying. But Melissa, what do you think? Brent gave Scottie a 1. Are you also a 1, or are you a little higher on his chances?
Yeah, no, I'm giving him a 1, because honestly, even if he stays over Haleigh, like, he's done. Like, there's no way they're keeping him around. Like, I'm very, very disappointed in him. He came back in saying, like, I'm going to get vengeance on everyone, and I'm going to do this and that and the other thing. And then, like, and he's sitting there like, I'm going to win this HOH. And I just felt like he gave up on the HOH. I feel like he didn't care. He was joking and talking and, like, making, like, stupid, like, puns or whatever about everything, and just, like, giggling and, letting himself spin out of control. And, like, yeah, like, okay, you can't really control that. But then when it was happening, he's like, "Wah!" It wasn't like, oh my God, I need to get this in control. I need to win this. This is my life on the line. He was just like, shucks, this is wild. Wow. It was like so stupid. I was like, honestly, I was so annoyed, because I was sitting there like, go Scottie, you've got this. Like, because he went in the house, he flung the door open, he threw his bag down saying he was here. And then it was as if like, he was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, I really don't care about this. And it was very disappointing. And I just feel like he's revealing all these facts that he shouldn't be revealing. He's talking to Haleigh saying like, oh yeah, Tyler told me I was the pawn, blah, blah, blah. If Tyler says that you're the pawn, just like zip your lip if you really think you're the pawn. Like, don't sit there and tell everyone about like, oh, this is what Tyler told me. Like, da-da-da, here's his secret strategy. If you really want to work with Tyler and not with anyone else, then don't give away Tyler's supposed secrets or supposed plan. And the fact that, I mean, here's the thing, is that he's like, I'm going to work with Tyler. I'm going to rekindle like Skylar or with Sylar, whatever it was. And then he literally like goes and Tyler puts him on the block and he's like, oh, that's fine. This is all cool. Like, this is my supposed number one ally, and it's cool if he puts me on the block as a pawn. No. Like, if someone's your number one ally, they're not going to put you on the block as a pawn. So, clearly, Tyler doesn't care about working with Scottie. So, if I'm Scottie, and I think my number one ally is Tyler. Tyler puts me on the block. I'd be like, whoa, okay. Clearly this thing is not working. Tyler doesn't want to work with me, or at least if he wants to work with me, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if I stay or go. So like I need to figure something else out. And he's not. He's not at all.
I will say, just to defend him a little bit, and I'm not changing my score. I'm giving him a 1. However, I feel like in some ways, I've been watching old Big Brother lately. I feel like I just watched the double eviction episode in Big Brother 14 where Dan wins and evicts Frank and then tries to take a shot at Ian and it doesn't work. And Jen City is in the next episode going, yes, they screwed me over, but what else do I have? I feel like in some ways that Scottie is very much in this position where he knows he shouldn't be working with Tyler. Like Tyler put him on the block. Obviously he's expendable, but what else does he have? He can't go working with Angela and Kaycee. Brett and JC don't really like him. I mean, they talk with him, but he has no connection with JC. He nominated Brett. Haley's already his one ally, but she's on the block with him. And Sam is off in her own universe. So what else does he have at this point?
I just feel like, I totally see where you're coming from. But I think that if I'm in that position and I come in and for future players, like, I mean, Julie even asked him, like you said, how are you going to change up your game? Like, because clearly what he was doing wasn't working. So how are you going to change up your game? If I come in and I've just done the battle back and I'd already been evicted and everybody had like turned against me, I'm going to do the exact opposite of what I was doing. Like,
but working with Tyler was the opposite. He was trying to work with Haleigh and Fess when he got evicted.
No, because I don't mean like when he's evicted. I mean like during his entire time in the house, he was trying to work with Tyler, thinking that they had like some sort of final 2. Then he was also trying to work with Haleigh and Fessy. Like those were groups that he was trying to work with. If I'm him, I'd go to the person that I see as on like the semi-outs of whatever group is going on, which I think in this situation is Brett. But I think Scottie should have gone to Brett.
We know that.
But listen,
or whatever.
Think about it this way. Brett is the second to last person Scottie tried to work with. Scottie thought he was working with Brett, and then Brett turned around and said, "No, Scottie, I voted for Rockstar to stay." Like Brett is the most recent betrayal on his list of people that betrayed him. Tyler is the one that at least didn't do him directly wrong.
No, here's the thing: is that I think that if I'm in his position, I think whatever I was doing before wasn't working. So I want to do whatever I don't do then. Like whatever I wasn't doing then, I want to do now. And I think he should have gone to each person, no matter who it is, and just like felt around, saw what was going on. And I feel like instead he just felt comfortable and went right back in.
This is the thing.
Tyler.
This is the thing. I've also been watching old Survivor lately, and I watched the episode where Sheehan won immunity in All Stars, and she says to the camera, "Look, my best strategy at this point is to call everybody out on their shit, like stir it up as much as I can before I go, and try to create as much fireworks as I can." And I feel like we want Scottie to do that, but that's not Scottie's game. Like Scottie's best, I think the best thing he could do at this point, Taran, would be like call everybody out on their shit. What are you doing? What are you doing? What did you promise me? What have you done? Did you lie? Brett, did you lie when I came back in? But he doesn't have that chutzpah. He doesn't, that's not Scottie. Scottie's the guy who like sat up in the HOH room and he's just chill.
Right, that's what I thought we were getting. Is like
I thought that's what we were getting too.
Throws the bag down. He's like, "I'm back" or whatever. I thought he was gonna be like, everybody like Brett said this, like I actually was the vote, like Haleigh did this, like JC, I heard that you were the one pitching to get me out. Like, I mean, honestly, at that point, and even like honestly, at this point, if I'm Scottie and I know I'm on the block and I know that it's a possibility I'm going out, I would just go to everyone and be like, "Look, this is what's going on with you. This is what he said to me. This is what I heard from the jury." Like, just throw everything out there rather than like little gossipy tidbits about like, "Oh, Rockstar was reading over your, like talking about your DR message over and over." Like he needs to just like throw everything out there on the table, because at this point he's going home otherwise. So, I mean, I know he thinks he's the pawn, but like, just do it. Like, what do you have to lose? You've already been kicked out of the house before. I mean, I don't know. That's just like, that's what I would do if I got back in the house, like, and I thought that whatever I was trying to do wasn't working. Like, if I felt like he thought that it was going to work getting back in with Tyler. Well, look, it didn't. You're on the block, no matter if you're a pawn or not. I'd be like, all right, fine. That strategy's over. I'm going for everything else. And he's not doing anything. He's not bringing anything to the table. It's a wasted week.
Hey, Taran, I have a question for you. So Danny in the chat says, Brent, use the term, and I don't know how to pronounce this. It's called Zugzwang. It's a term from chess, meaning no good move is a good move. So, I mean, do you feel like that are we wrong? Is that what Scottie should have done this week? Like, I don't know.
Well, first of all, I do very much disagree with the notion that like going back and working with Tyler was. I think first of all that was changing up his game because the most recent people he tried to work with were JC, Fessy, Haleigh, and he thought he was working with Brett. And so obviously he's going to try and work with Tyler, especially then once Tyler wins the HOH. I think the problem is that he didn't actually follow through with that. He spent the first night talking with Haleigh.
Yeah.
If he had gone straight to Tyler and only talked to Tyler and talked about like Haleigh sucks, I heard she betrayed me, she and Fessy were the ones that put me up, I told you when I left that I owed you a favor. If he had gone straight to Tyler with all of that stuff, I do feel like Tyler would have been like, you know what, maybe I should keep Scottie over Haleigh. I feel like as it is, he's kind of torn. But if Scottie hadn't shown that he's just going to run straight back to Haleigh, then something might have worked out there. Then now that he's in this position, I do feel like his only chance is to go to Brett and tell Brett that he wants to go after Angela. I think that's an opening that he could exploit. The problem is he obviously doesn't know that that's an opening. The last time he tried to talk and work with Brett just completely blindsided him, framed him for a vote, and sent him home. So it's hard for him to reach out in that way. But of course, I do take the point that he should be trying everything, and this should be a thing that he's trying to do right now. Unfortunately, he has just kind of given up. That's it. It's hard to blame him that much for not seeing this. Obviously, Brett has been in alliance with these people for a long time. This opening was just very, very recent opening, and again, Brett has completely stonewalled Scottie while thinking that Scottie's thought that he's been let in like time and time again in the past. So it's going to be very hard for Scottie to feel like he can actually go to Brett with anything, but I think it's kind of a nitpicky thing. I think Scottie came into this house with a massive disadvantage. I feel like there was not a lot that he could do other than win a competition to save himself. And yes, there were a couple of things that he could have done. Definitely things that he should be trying that he's not. But he was really just put in a really bad spot to begin with, and it's hard to blame him for being sent home. It is easy to blame him though for not giving us any entertainment and for not trying as hard as he should.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just feel like he's just not trying at all, and that's what got him evicted the first time. Is that he didn't put himself in the room. He didn't talk to people. He just let things happen around him, thinking that it was going to work out, and it didn't. And now he's doing the exact same thing.
Did you give him a score, Taran? I'm sorry.
Yes,
sorry, Melissa and I wanted to bitch about Scottie for a while.
Yeah.
So,
I actually, I did not give him a 1. I only want to give somebody a 1 unless when I'm absolutely sure there's no chance they could ever win the game, or at least I'm very, very confident about it. I gave a 1 to Fessy last week because I knew he was going to go home, and I felt like even if he came back, there's no way he could win. I think there's still tonight and tomorrow night for things to change where, maybe Brett does decide that, I feel like the will to send Haleigh home or to send Scottie home is not as strong as the will to send Fessy home was. I feel like most people in that house could go either way. I do think there's a very small chance that Scottie, that the vote flips, that Haleigh does something and pisses people off, and that the vote flips and Scottie stays. And if that happens, there's a very, very small chance that Scottie could go on some kind of comp run, or he gets overlooked while Brett and JC take a shot at Angela, and then goes on a comp run, and then somehow makes it to the end where I do think he's got at least 4 votes locked in. So there's like a tiny, tiny, tiny small chance that he has to potentially win this game. So I gave him a 2 instead of a 1, just because it's that tiny bit. So there's that. Yes, the audience. It's going to be hard for the audience to give any 1s unless you're Fessy. The audience also gave Scottie a 2. So Scottie's price is going to go there at $2.
I forget. Did the audience give Fessy a 1?
Yes, the only one the audience has given. Yeah,
they were really pissed at him.
Didn't we all give him 1?
Yeah,
I think
ones.
so. Yeah, we were really annoyed at Fessy.
Well, we knew there was no shot, no chance Fessy wins this game.
Yeah.
All right.
But I felt a lot better about Fessy after he apologized to Scottie and said he was so stupid and all that stuff. I was like, oh, okay, all right, Fessy.
I felt more irritated. idiot. Like, why couldn't you see that before?
Especially
That's
when
true.
he then he throws JC under the bus and makes sure that Scottie doesn't work with JC when JC comes back into the house. Oh, it was JC's fault.
Yeah,
and then
that's
and
true.
he just of course he's gonna screw this up.
All right, fine, guys, but it was fun to watch.
All right, let's talk about Angela. Brent and I gave her 6s. Melissa in the audience gave her 7s last week. It does seem like, here we go, the battle back is not going to be able to save her this time. The shot might be taken by JC or Brett, and also just in general, nobody really wants to take her to the end. However, we've got this dichotomy of, we know the jury is less likely to vote for her in the end, but we already kind of knew that. But we also know now that the House knows that the jury is less likely to vote for her, which makes her a little more likely to be chosen to go to the end. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Brent, what do you think? What is your rating for Angela this week?
Again, there's so many things, and I'm not intentionally trying to be fancy Fencerton with these house guests, but there are positives and negatives, as Taran talked about. I think that here's the thing. As things stand right now, I think Angela's positioning in the House is bad to average. I feel like that she is one of the 3 most likely candidates to go home. However, as things continue to move along, and we'll be down to 7 house guests after Scottie is presumably evicted on Thursday. As things continue to move along, I feel like that she goes from being on the outside to being somebody who everybody wants to take to the end. Like, why would we evict Angela? You know, she's somebody we can take to the end. Nobody likes her. It's an easy win. But you also have to recognize, too, I feel like there are people in the House who might recognize that if I know that, then other people know that. So she's basically like the Victoria. Like, if you're sitting on the block next to her, then you're going to go home because everybody's going to want to keep her because everybody hates her. So that might save her as things move along. But given where things stand right now, I feel like I graded her a 5 because I don't like her game. The only positives that she's done this week are with Tyler and Haleigh. Those are the only 2 positives. She has let her relationship with Brett slip to a point, and her annoyance with Brett show to a point where he is aware of that now. She has not covered her tracks effectively with JC in terms of the showmance. This showmance is a death sentence to her game, I feel like, for the most part, whereas it's a slight annoyance to Tyler. She doesn't realize that she's the meat shield in the relationship, and Tyler would probably get off scot-free. So I do not feel great about her positioning, but I feel like that the more that she survives, the continue, her score is only going to improve from here. So that's why I gave her a 5.
Also, you misspoke. You said scot-free instead of scotch-free.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes. Is that what she said? Oh, yeah, she's scotch-free. Oh, my God. That doesn't even make sense. Like, I've never heard anybody say that. Like, Scotch Guard.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay.
All right. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Brent was saying. I think that there are positives and negatives. I think that she is, I mean, I never thought that she would be considered like the meat shield for Tyler, but I guess that's what's going on here. And not only is she the meat shield for him, apparently everyone thinks that she's the mastermind. Like, she's the person behind everything, which is like crazy to me. But I think that I'm concerned because what she should be doing, like Brent said, she should be trying to cozy up to Brett and other people on the outside of the alliance, not just Tyler, and, you know, reassure them that everything's cool between them. And instead, she's very annoyed with them and is like showing her annoyance. She seems to be annoyed with like everyone in the house right now. So, I mean, that's not good for her social game. I just feel like her social game is really, really struggling. And this whole Tangela thing is not good for her. I think that if anyone's going to be taken down for the Tangela thing, it's Angela. So, yeah, I don't feel great about it. At the same time, everyone thinks she's a mastermind, and everyone in the house knows that the jury hates her. So it's possible that they might take her to the end because they think the jury hates her. But then it turns into one of those situations where the jury is like, we respect game. Like, Angela seriously played us all. I mean, imagine if Angela ends up in the end somehow with like Sam or something. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's possible that she gets dragged along and then the jury recognizes like, man, got to give it up. She's the mastermind behind the whole thing. We got to give it to her, even though I hate her or whatever. who knows? We've seen a lot of bitter juries lately with people saying, like, I'm not going to give it to someone who I hate, even if they played a really great game. So I don't know. And that's down the line. I mean, she still has to get there. So, yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to give her a 6 this week.
Yeah, I think it's funny that with Angela, you normally you talk about like will Tyler win? Probably, but there's always a chance that the jury is going to be a little bit bitter. And then we talk about will Angela win? Probably not, but there's always a chance that they respect the game and vote for her.
Exactly.
Even though the thing is that respecting the game would mean not voting for Angela. She hasn't even played particularly that well, especially if she's going to be sitting there next to Tyler or Brett or JC. I think all of them have played better games than her. I did
it's the appearance, it's the optics.
Yes, I did give her a 6 this week. I considered lowering her rating just because her relationship with Brett is deteriorating. Her relationship with JC is deteriorating. That's all bad for her. However, as Brent mentioned, she's been doing some good work with Haleigh. If Haleigh goes to the jury as an advocate for Angela, like actually she's not that bad, guys. We hung out a lot after Fessy left. Maybe they don't vote as a block. Maybe they disagree, or maybe they soften a little bit on Haleigh. Maybe Haleigh or on Angela. Maybe Haleigh convinces them to respect the game a little more when it comes to Angela. I think that's all good for her. And also, I do feel like Tyler is more likely to take Angela to the final 2 than I think he ever has been, and that makes her go way up in my estimation. Because if Tyler wants her there, I think she's a lot more likely to get there. In fact, I think she goes from about like 2% to like 40%. Like it's a massive jump. So I also gave her a 6. I did not go bring her down at all. The audience also gave her a 6. So she will stick here at a 6 for the week. Let's talk about JC. JC in a very precarious position. He's annoying Angela and Tyler, but he's ready to make this shot. If this shot happens, especially if he's not the one that has to do it, that would be very good for him. I think it would improve his position. I do feel like he is one of the more likely people to benefit from a bitter jury, because people might not understand what he's done. And even if they do, I feel like they would appreciate that a little more because he was on the outside of the big alliance. So I do feel like JC might have a shot here. But it's a tricky spot. It really is. He's kind of on the precipice of, will he take a commanding position in the game because the shot was taken at Angela, or will he slip off the cliff and lose control of the game from this point on because he's not able to take the shot and Haleigh goes, and now the momentum is there and he's not able to get any back. So for right now, I think he's still in one of the better positions in the house. I gave him a 7 again. That's the rating that I gave him last week. Again, things could go up from here. Maybe I'm giving him an 8 next week because things turn out really well. They could also go down. I think he could drop down to a 5 next week if Haleigh goes. And so it's very we're on the precipice here. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to give JC a 7 because I agree with you in that he's playing one of the stronger games and that it could go either way. But I mean, and at least he recognizes kind of what he needs to do in order to move forward. But I'm still really disappointed in that he's been going to Tyler with all of his Tangela complaints, when I think that he should be keeping that internal so that way they don't realize that he sees them as a threat and that he wants to get Angela out. I think he should keep that on the DL and just talk about that stuff with Brett. Maybe bring it up to Tyler like once or twice, but to do this weird like parenting thing where he like checks up on them and makes sure that they're not in the same bed and all that sort of stuff. It's like it's too much, and it's really grating to Angela and Tyler. So yeah, I don't quite like what he's doing with that. And I think that if anything, that could be a problem for him. I think if Angela wins HOH, who knows what's going to happen, but it's possible that she sits there and is like, okay, clearly he sees me as a threat. He wants to get me out. He wants Tyler to himself. I got to nip this in the bud before he can get me. Who knows what's going to happen, but I just think that that's going to be a problem for him. So, yeah, 7.
All right, Brent.
I feel okay about JC's positioning in that house. In fact, I feel better than okay. What I don't feel great about is his potential to win the game. And also, I am a little bit like, here's the thing. I'm a little bit shaken by the fact that he it looks like he doesn't even want to take the shot himself. As I mentioned, I've been watching a lot of old Big Brother, and I was watching Steve Moses like at the final 6 when he says, you know what, I'm going to win HOH. I'm going to betray the Oz twins. You can't win this game without getting blood on your hands. And I feel like JC does need an HOH. He does need some stamp of approval on this game as a whole and say, you know what, I had direction in this game. I moved things along. And without the ability to do that, and it doesn't look like he even wants to win HOH, without his ability to do that, I don't know that he can win at the end. He's not great at speaking with people. He tends to get annoyed easily. And also, not for nothing, but I really don't think he's going to win some of these comps at the end, aside from part 1 of the final HOH. So I gave him an 8 last week, and I have gone down. I've given him a 7 this week, and I feel good about his position within the game. I don't feel like there's any scenario where he'll be evicted. Even Angela, if she wins HOH, I still don't think that JC will be evicted because I think Tyler will talk her out of it and be like, it's too soon. But it's dicey. It's dicey.
Yes. Well, the audience disagrees with us quite a bit here, actually. The audience down at a 5 for JC. I don't know if this is,
I think that's based on other
He
things.
certainly has done things to make himself unpopular with the audience.
Yeah.
But there have also been some, I've noticed a couple people in the chat trying to say that they would think his game deserves a 5. And I do think there's an argument there. Like I said, I think he's on the precipice. If you were anticipating a downward trend for JC, then you're just kind of ahead of the curve on that one. I currently, because there's the potential to go up, I don't want to personally go down there quite yet. But I can understand why some might do that. But I don't think the controversy stuff has helped him either. So there we go. JC at a total of $7 for the week. Brett is up next. He was $7 last week. I gave him a 7. Brent an 8. Melissa and the audience both gave him 7s. Melissa, what do you think this time around?
I feel about the same about Brett that he did last week.
Considering it's a rerun, I don't think it's out of it's not out of bounds for you to feel the same about many of these people.
It's hard to say. I mean, I guess if I'm comparing him, yes, last week I felt better about JC than I did about Brett, but I feel like this week I feel better about Brett than I do about JC. So if I'm giving JC, I feel like I kind of want to just switch their ratings, which I kind of did with JC. I went down. Now Brett, I think I want to go up. I don't know if he's playing a particularly amazing game, but I do like where he's at, and I like the way he's looking ahead and thinking of things. And I like the fact that he's not just I just feel like in the past we've seen a lot of people be like, I know what I have to do. I have to make this move. And we're all like, yeah, you do have to make this move. And they're like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to make this move. I got to make a big move. I got to make a big splash. And it's you don't need that. And I think that with Brett's sort of personality and the way he wants to make good TV, he seems like the exact type of person who would be I gotta just make a move to make a move, and he's not. I think he's really impressed me in regards to his strategy, but I don't know if I can really fully just give him an 8 this week because he's not really done anything different. So I think I'm just going to stick with my 7. With the idea that it's likely going to go up.
All right.
Yeah, I gave him an 8 last week, and I've gone down a little bit this week. I gave him a 7 as well. Melissa, I agree in some ways that here's the thing about Brett. His relationship with Angela has deteriorated to a point where they are both independently aware of the fact that they are annoying each other. Angela is annoying Brett, and Brett is annoying Angela, and they're both basically aware of the fact that they know the other one is annoyed by them. So that is not good. I do not like that. And that was not necessarily true last week. The other thing that's true this week is that Tyler is also onto him. He's also onto the fact that JC and Brett are working together, and they're both coming up with the same story. JC's like, I had to talk Brett out of doing this. Brett's like, I had to talk JC out of doing this. And they're both going to Tyler telling him the same story, unaware that the other one is trying to throw the other one under the bus. And it's not good. However, he is very circumspect about the game. He is cautiously nervous, which I think is a good quality to have in Big Brother, where he's not just laying back like Raven last year, letting things happen. I know I'm in control of the game. Everything's good. La-di-da, completely unaware of what's happening. He is aware that there are problems ahead, and he could quickly be left out in the cold. He is trying to plant seeds with JC along the way and other people, and even talking with Scottie a little bit, talking with Haleigh a little bit, like, this is not good. But he's also been very careful about who he said whatever to, besides the fact that he has made a mistake in throwing JC under the bus to Tyler because he doesn't realize that JC's doing that same thing to Tyler himself. So overall, I feel good about Brett's position within the house. I don't feel like there's any scenario where he's going to be evicted this week. I do feel good about him as we move along. Like, once Brett gets to, like, say, final 5, I feel like if I was a betting man, I am, I would bet on him to really take this home and try to get to the end. I even think there's a scenario where Brett ends up in the end with Tyler. But even in that scenario, I think he could win. So I feel okay about his chances, but I don't like the fact that his relationship with Angela has deteriorated. And here's the thing, I heard Taran on the show with Jenny talking about the fact that he doesn't want to take this shot himself, or he might want to try to backdoor Angela, like put Haleigh and Sam on the block and then put Angela on the block as a backdoor once the veto plays out. If that's your plan and somebody else knows that that's your plan, once you're not HOH to the next week, I feel like that plan's probably going to come out, especially if there's only like 6 people in the house and everyone's looking around at each other like, who's going to go on the block? So it's almost as good as making the move anyway. If you were going to make that move, I feel like you might as well just make it. I don't know if you share my opinion on that, Taran, but I feel like his move should be to nominate Angela and Kaycee outright if he's going to try to backdoor Angela, because I feel like that once you put it out in the universe, people are going to know about it. It's going to come out. You're going to be just as guilty. Maybe you disagree, though.
I do. I feel like I can't remember if I was talking. Melissa, were we talking about this when Brent was gone? Or
I'm sorry.
I don't
it
remember
might have
now.
been. Oh, okay. I'm having a deja vu moment.
I can't remember, but I do. I kind of went over this. I do feel like it's probably better for Brett to do the backdoor, just because it's so likely that either Tyler, Kaycee, or Angela win the veto, and then one of them comes off, and then he has to either put Tyler on the block, which will piss Tyler off, and totally cut off that avenue of like, now he can't. Now Tyler's definitely against him, and he's gone a little too far with the move. I don't think he's actually willing to put Tyler up on the block at this point, which means he would have to put up either Haleigh or Sam anyway, and then then he's in the same position as before. And also he can test the waters and try and see, like, all right, will Sam or Haleigh vote with me if I put Angela up on the block? And then if he feels like they won't, then maybe don't use the veto. If he feels like they will, then he can take the shot, he can make it happen, and he won't miss the shot, or at least hopefully won't miss the shot. So I do feel like it gives him a little bit more of an out here.
Yeah, I feel like it's dicey though, because he basically, like, I feel like if he lets one more person who has a mind go home, and basically what I'm talking about is Haleigh or JC, like if he lets one of them go home, I feel like he doesn't have enough allies to work with. Sam, I know, is a vote, but she's not dependable. You can't even get an answer out of her half the time in terms of who are you going to vote for, Sam. The only person who's been able to do that from my perspective is Tyler, and half the time she doesn't even give him an answer about who she's going to vote for. So I feel like it's very dicey keeping her in the house as somebody who you could work with. I know that supposedly Sam has some sort of a relationship with Brett, but at various times throughout the week, Sam's like, "Are you plotting against me?" So I don't know that that's a good idea either. I feel like in some ways it's better to take the shot, but that may be the TV boy in me who really wants to see the fallout from that.
Yeah, it's just like thinking about it, like, it's just so likely for one of them to win the veto. Like, if you think if Kaycee and Angela are on the block, JC, first of all, probably not likely to win in the first place. Also, probably doesn't really want to win the veto, and then have to not use it and piss off Tyler. He would love to not have to do that. Sam, probably not going to win it. Haleigh, if she won it, might even use it on Angela or Kaycee in the hopes of getting Sam on the block or something a lot like, because if Haleigh uses it, then the only other options are JC, Sam, or Tyler. Those are all great for Haleigh. She thinks she's working with these two of women anyway. She'd probably use it, which means the only person that can really win to prevent one of the nominees from coming off the block is Brett. He's put himself in a must-win position, or he loses one of the nominees, and he doesn't have any leverage to vote to get the other one voted out. Whereas if Haleigh and Sam are on the block, if Haleigh wins, she obviously takes herself off. If he wins, he can take one of them off. If Sam wins, she takes herself off. Which means that the only people that can't win are Tyler, Angela, and Kaycee. And at that point, if one of them wins, then they would have been safe anyway. And now he's got at least some level of like, okay, well, I was never going to take the shot, I promise. You know what I mean? So, but it's a tricky spot to begin with. But I do ultimately feel like the backdoor is probably the better option. But it's, it's take it or leave it kind of thing. I gave Brett a 7. I know a lot of people feel like Brett is in a better position than JC. I disagree with that, actually. I think that position-wise, it might look that way because Brett has a little more loyalty from people. He's got JC, he's got Tyler, he's got all these people for right now, and that's the key. Looking down the line, yes, Brett is more likely to win competitions, but yes, Tyler knows about that. And I guarantee you that if the move doesn't happen, and Brett and JC are in the, even if the move does happen, that Tyler is going to cut Brett before he cuts JC if he has the opportunity. I know JC is annoying the crap out of Tyler, and he look, it might get to a point where he's like, screw it, screw my game, I need JC out of here. But Tyler has been talking all week long, making sure that people like Kaycee and Angela know Brett is dangerous. He's talked about Brett, he could take credit for moves if he went to the final 2. I know Tyler doesn't want to be sitting next to Brett in the final 2. He's been talking about how much he studies, how dangerous he might be. I think Tyler definitely wants Brett out before JC. And when Tyler was talking about who he would take to the final 2, he said, I would even take Kaycee over JC, as though JC were his second choice.
Right.
And I think that's definitely something that's probably still on his mind. So I think that JC, he's bad at competitions. Tyler thinks he can beat him in the end. Brett, he's a big threat in competitions. Tyler doesn't think he can beat him in the end. Tyler controls what Angela and Kaycee do to a large extent. I think that's very dangerous for Brett, and I think it puts him on equal footing with JC, who may appear to be in a worse spot at the moment, but I think is actually pretty level ultimately.
Level 6 level.
Yes. So the audience agrees with us here, and the audience gave him a 7. So that's straight 7s for Brett. He is going to also have a price of $7. Let's move on to Kaycee. I gave her a 7 last week, and I'm going to stick to my 7 this week. I think we found out information that makes her more likely to win the game, but I think Tyler is a little less likely to take her to the end, which kind of averages out to about where I had her last week at a 7. I think all of my ratings have been almost exactly the same so far, so not that surprising for me.
Yeah.
Brett, what do you think? Brent,
yeah, I
sorry.
gave her That's okay. It happens. It's who is it? Oh, Marissa and Melissa, Celebrity Big Brother. Yeah, anytime.
This one's even harder.
I know, right? I'm waiting for somebody that has your name similar. I'm trying to think of a name that's similar to yours that would come in. Maybe Terry, Terrence, Tarrant, something like that. I gave her an 8 last week, and I'm going to give her an 8 this week. I feel great about her chances to win at the end, and also she's starting to build a little bit of a resume. The fact that she won a second veto now shows it's not a fluke. Also, she'll be able to reveal that she won the hacker competition, so she has 3 competition wins. I think it was Taylor on Twitter who pointed out that the couch now has more competition wins than Haleigh, which is kind of jarring to think about it, considering how we think of Haleigh. And I feel good about her social game to a point where I feel like she is the most likely person to be voted for in the end. Excuse me. However, I feel like that the house
He keeps going.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
like uninterrupted.
However, I feel like that everybody is starting to become aware of the fact, and as she continues to build a resume, I feel like the house also realizes, oh, she's building a resume. She may not be the best person to take to the end. So I feel like her position within the game is pristine. There's no way that she is evicted. Even if Angela and her go on the block, Angela wins the veto, I don't think they send Kaycee home. I feel like they'll send Sam home, or I don't know what they would do, but they wouldn't send Kaycee home, I don't believe. I feel like everybody likes her, and the jury likes her, and I feel like she can at least get to the final 4. And she's shown the ability to win a couple of these competitions. Now, the competitions at like Final 5, Final 4 are a lot more memory based, and I don't know how good she is. I some of the question competitions she hasn't been great at, but I'm hopeful that she could pull something out there, and I feel pretty good about her chances overall. So I give her an 8.
All right, Melissa.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. I think that I think that last week I said that she wasn't doing anything, and I don't really think that she is doing much of anything still. But I think with this additional win, coupled with her previous wins, I think that it's starting to become something where people start to see her as like, whoa, she's really good at competitions. But people still don't seem to be that scared of her. So I think that's really an ideal place to be, is like, and same with Tyler. It's like, you're good at competitions, but no one really cares until you get to the end and you can like throw them out and be like, look at these competitions I won. And it's like, whoa, geez, we didn't even realize. So yeah, I'm going to go up with Kaycee this week to a 7.
All right. The audience also went up on Kaycee. They gave her a 7 as well. So Kaycee will be there at $7, looks like. Let's move on to Sam. Has anything changed with Sam?
No change.
Other than
No change.
She
We
might
have to talk about
be more
her.
likely to win the jury. I'm going to give her a 2 again.
Yeah.
What did I give her last week?
We all
2.
gave her 2s.
2. Moving on.
The audience
Womp womp.
the audience stuck with their 3 though, holding out on.
I just
Sam.
don't know where she fits in, man. I don't know what she's doing. I have no clue about whether or not she recognizes that people half the time, like, it's weird. Like, an HOH is crowned. Like when Haleigh was about to win HOH, she's desperately rooting for Tyler. But on the other end, she's like, I don't care about this game. I don't want to play this game. Who cares? But then
it's like, why are you?
Yeah, but then she does care about being on the block. So I don't know what the hell
Why are you
she's
getting yourself
doing.
involved?
She hasn't really revealed it in the diary room. I think like there basically it's like Fessy says. If it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So she's off in Never Never Land. There's no plan here, and she's a tool to be used by other people until she is no longer useful anymore. It's a 2.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, and during the HOH competition, I was just like, literally not Sam. Please, like anyone else, like whatever, I can deal with it, but not Sam.
Yeah, I feel like
Sam.
that would be the worst outcome for the coming week.
That would have been
Sam
so
HOH.
awful. Yeah.
Although then again, she would put Haleigh and Angela up.
I mean, literally, probably nothing would have changed, but
yeah.
Whatever.
All right. So to recap, Tyler has a rating of 9. Haleigh has a rating of 3. Scottie is a 2. Angela 6. JC 7. Brett 7. Kaycee 7. And Sam 2, which again, I think the Stockwatch really lays out for us like what we're dealing with in terms of like the house, where it's like we have a bunch of people who are all within the same range of each other in the top half, and then just like a bunch of people at the bottom. We need to just get rid of those people, but they've been hanging around for 3 weeks, so we need to get rid of them so that the people on top can start fighting it out and they can shift around a little more. But there you go. That is.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Sorry, I don't have my thing open right now. Can you read off the pricings for the house guests again?
Tyler is a 9, Haleigh 3, Scottie 2, Angela 6, JC 7, Brett 7, Kaycee 7, and Sam 2.
Aha, thank you. All right.
All right, so let's move over to the buying page. Brent, who's first?
That's why I'm trying to whip things around really quickly. I'm trying to get it open so that I can see what I currently have, and I'm just trying to tap dance for a moment while I bring up the YouTube page so I can see what's going on.
I can just go if that helps.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm just gonna buy an Angela.
All right.
She's cheap this week.
Yes, $6. So Melissa's gonna spend 6 on Angela, and then you're gonna hold there.
Yeah, I think that's it.
So
right.
does that give you 2 Angela stocks right now?
Yes.
Or was that one already there? Okay, I just got the page open.
Yeah, so that is going to be 2 Angela shares for Melissa.
Excellent. Brent has $15 to spend. And what shall I buy? Let's see. I could buy Kaycee stock. I'm currently tied with Melissa in terms of Kaycee. She's selling at $7 right now.
You're tied with me on Kaycee.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. Yeah. Well, Kaycee.
No, wait.
No, I'm sorry. I am at the bottom with
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah.
We both got it wrong.
Wait a second.
I was reading it wrong.
Melissa is tied with Melissa and I both have 3 shares of Kaycee. Brent currently has 1.
Yes.
Okay. I am going to buy 2 shares of Kaycee stock, selling at $7, and that will bring me into a tie with Taran and Melissa in terms of Kaycee stock. So I am guarding my position there, and I'm also going to sell one of my shares of Brett stock. So Brett is currently selling at $7. I will get back $4 for that, so that should leave me with $5 going into next week.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sell my JC. I'm going to take the bet that he goes down and that this is the highest price I'm going to get for him. And I'm going to then buy 2 Kaycees. And that's going to be my move for the week. All right. There we go.
You're banking on a Tyler Kaycee final too,
I'm
essentially.
consolidating, yes.
Yeah,
Consolidating my
I
shares
see what
here.
You're doing. I see what's going on here.
So there we go. All right. There's the stock watch. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you, those of you who are playing along at home, you get some buying in here. It's I feel like things could be about to change. Things could start to move around a bit. All right. So there's the stock watch. Let's get back to our normal view here. And we'll talk about some of these bonus questions. As long as
people in the chat are like, Taran just cheated. Taran did not cheat. We each go in order every week, and it was my turn to go first, but then Melissa was like, I'll go ahead and go first because it didn't really matter. We weren't going to affect each other. Taran was going to go last. Next week, Taran will have to go first, and then I will be able to get to see what he does first and react accordingly. So it goes Taran, Melissa, me, Taran, Melissa, me, and so here we are. So,
yes, and for the record, I was going to do that regardless.
Regardless,
that was my plan.
As people say in America, irregardless, which is not a word. Not a word.
All right, so we polled the audience on who is your favorite player. Once again, of course, Tyler in the lead with 50% of the vote. Actually, I expected it to go down a little because I feel like he's really playing up the I'm in control character, and also, but I guess like a lot of people are like going like a little lower on Tyler in terms of the showmance, but then a lot of people really love showmances. So I feel like maybe that's a wash. So about 50% there for Tyler. Brett in second place with a massive lead over everyone else with 25% of the vote. I'm trying to get down to the statistics from last week.
Oh, by the way, while you're looking for that, I was reminded that Tyler, Angela, and Kaycee all said at the beginning of the game that they would much rather win the game and be hated by America. So that is something to keep in mind as we go along here. We all get on the people that are like, I want America to love me and I'd rather lose. But Brett actually said that I would rather lose the game and be loved by America. So it's sort of funny that we're rooting for Brett and we don't like the level 6 people, or at least I don't. But yet they're the ones who are playing the cutthroat game at this point. So go ahead.
So yes, Tyler, Tyler picked up 3 percentage points to get back up to 50 this week. Brett gained about 2 percentage points to get up to 25% this week. And then looks like Scottie is in third place, returning from the grave.
Oh my goodness.
No way.
JC was previously in third place with 10% of the vote. This week, JC has gone down to, where is JC?
Wow.
3% of the vote.
We can't find him. He's so low.
Yeah, he dropped 7%.
Not great.
Probably a lot to do with feeling for touching Tyler and with Scottie probably taking up some of that, I guess, some of those votes. And then Haleigh, Haleigh is going to be in fourth with about 6%. Angela in fifth with about 4%. Then Kaycee just behind her with another 4. Then, of course, JC with 3. And Sam in last place, 17 votes for Sam, 1.5% of the vote there. I asked the audience, who do you want to be evicted this week? 65% said Haleigh. Only 35% want Scottie gone. Scottie still has a lot of fans, I guess.
I don't get it. I mean, I liked Scottie before this week. I was very excited for him to come back because I felt like he wasn't given really, a fair shake when Fessy got rid of him. I was disappointed with that, and I felt like he deserved a second chance. But then he blew it and didn't do anything, so I was very disappointed in his comeback performance. So I'm surprised people are still pumped on him. I don't know. I kind of lost it, and I kind of am just excited for him to go because I feel like Haleigh deserves it more at this point.
I bet a lot of what's playing into this too is that people are expecting that if Haleigh stays and gets power, she's just going to be going after Sam, whereas Scottie will go for probably Angela, at least not Sam, probably.
Yeah.
Even Scottie's worst move is to probably go after JC, which I'm sure a lot of people would love considering where his popularity has gone. So that's probably a lot to do with that.
By the way, Christina in the chat is asking, can we see if she says me, but I have no control over this. If you put in a question for who we want for America's favorite player next week. In the poll.
That's a good idea.
Is that what you're asking right now?
I assume who your favorite player is who you want America's favorite player.
Yeah,
to be.
probably.
But I don't think so because I think people are already assuming Tyler's going to be in the final two.
Right, and you could vote for an evicted person for...
Yeah, and you can vote for anyone. Yeah. So I feel like the front runners are probably Brett, Haleigh, and either JC or Kaitlyn.
By the way, Taran, when you did the polls last year for... Cody was at the front of your polls, correct? When he won for America's favorite player?
I believe so.
It was close, but he was definitely right up there.
Yeah,
right?
I think it was close.
Him and Kevin.
Yeah. I think it was between him and Kevin.
Okay.
And I think the casual fan base was a lot more on the other side of.
I think
Cody.
we were worried it was going to be Alex for third, and then I remember being on my Periscope it was Jason. It was Whistlenut. Yeah. So yeah. So I think your polls are pretty indicative of who America's favorite player is going to be. So maybe we could ask that. And
I wonder if you could say if they could pick more than one person, because I mean I assume people who like Tyler and don't would want him to be America's favorite, but if he ends up in the final two, they'd vote for someone else.
Right.
So I wonder if you could they get 2 votes or 5 votes, whatever, and I don't know.
Well, I can just start asking next week, as of right now, who do you think you'll be voting for as America's favorite? And then as we get closer, if less people start voting for Tyler because it's looking more and more likely he's going to be in the final two, then we'll start narrowing that result down. Mm-hmm. All right. So I also asked how people would rate this season as a whole right now. I think unsurprisingly, the lowest rating yet since I started asking this question, not by much. It's still in the same range as it always has been, but an 8.79. It got up to, I believe, a 9.1 something. So a swing of about 4 tenths of a point, but it's still people love the season. It's just it's a slow week, so
it's a great season.
Lower rating this week, but not surprising.
Yep.
And then I also asked this week, are you a fan of the Battleback twist? I asked last week as well. Last week it was about 75-25. This week it's about 85-15. So we've gained 10 percentage points on people who are not fans of the Battleback twist.
Yeah.
And then I also asked, at this point in time, would you consider the Faute jury members unjustifiably bitter if they gave the win to Kaycee over Tyler? Since that's one of the more likely scenarios, it's one of the ones that's kind of generating the most buzz. If the Faute members decided we want to give the win to Kaycee over Tyler, based on the reasoning that you've heard at this point in time, not considering what Kaycee may do, what Tyler may do in the future, would you consider it to be unjustifiably bitter, meaning, of course, not something where you can point to, well, Tyler did this wrong, Paul did this wrong, whatever, but in fact something that's they just really wanted to boost their own egos, and 71% said yes, they would find it to be unjustifiably bitter. 28.7% said no, they would not find it to be unjustifiably bitter. I really want to track how this goes along the season, because what I often find is results tend to sway people's opinions on this. And so usually, when the result comes in, it's like, well, clearly Kaycee did something right and Tyler did something wrong, therefore it must be justified some way. So I want to see how this progresses as we go along, if it continues to look like this might be the case.
One thing I was going to bring up is it's important to keep in mind when we're evaluating Tyler's game that the house guests are not seeing Tyler's game the way we are seeing Tyler's game. And by that, I mean the fact that he gets more diary room confessions than any other house guest by far. In fact, it's double. I think the next closest person last week was Haleigh, but it's not even close. I mean, Tyler has like 200 over the course of the season, and there are people in the house right now that have less than 40. There are people that most of the house guests have less than 100. I think Haleigh is over 100, and Fessy was over 100. But aside from that, I mean, they're just barely over 100. Everyone else is under 100, and so we're looking at the game through Tyler's eyes, and we see everything he says because he's always on the show narrating what's going on. The house guests don't see Tyler that way, so it's important to know that they're not looking at the game that way. Therefore, I think it's actually not terribly bitter for the jury to vote for Kaycee because she has played an immaculate social game. Everybody enjoys her company. When Haleigh was feeling badly, where was Tyler? He was off canoodling with Angela. Where was Kaycee? Kaycee was down talking with Haleigh, trying to make her feel better, trying to make her feel overall good. Now, look, I grant you that we can see that Tyler has played a far superior game than Kaycee and has been a lot more active in the decisions. But the game has gone to a point where it's so perfect for them that there's nobody in level 6 who's in jury right now to tell them that Tyler has been instrumental in all of these things because they're all Falte people. They've played so perfect that he doesn't have the luxury of someone as an advocate, basically a Maddie from Big Brother Canada 6 in the jury house who's willing to tell anybody who will listen about Tyler's game and why he should be the winner. So I feel like that it's not... I don't feel like it's a bitter jury if Kaycee wins, and I don't want that to become the norm of everybody's thinking.
Well, I disagree on 2 points. One is that they would vote for Kaycee because they felt like a stronger connect. Like, I feel like you're inventing reasons for them that they haven't given. And the reasons that we've heard from Haleigh and from Fessy, and based on what Scottie is saying, are not that like we want to give it to the person that was closer to us or that we felt better about, but instead we want to try and boost our own egos by voting together and voting for somebody that's
so what does
really
she have
rub
to
it in
do?
Their face.
Like if she wins an HOH and maybe one more competition, I mean, like when does Kaycee's game become unbitter tasting?
Well, okay. So I think because we can look at like last year, right, too, where it's like we can say the jury was justifiably bitter with Paul because he didn't own his game and all of that stuff. But we're also not going to say that the jury voted for Josh, right? Like it's not like Josh earned their votes in the same way that like Paul lost their votes.
Right.
So there, I think there are a bunch of different scenarios. One is that Tyler lost their votes justifiably and Kaycee won because of that, or that Tyler lost their votes unjustifiably and Kaycee won because of that. Those are 2 different scenarios. And then there's also Kaycee won the votes over Tyler because she actively did something. And you can win votes by either intentionally taking somebody that is not going to get votes and you have good reason to think is not going to get votes, or because you have actively won them over in some way and they feel good about voting for you. They're actually voting for you instead of against somebody else. So if the jury decided we want to vote for Kaycee because we love Kaycee and she did such a great job with us and we feel like we're best friends with her or whatever, then I think that's a lot less likely to be a bitter jury than otherwise. Obviously, there's a chance that they're playing that up, and hearing what they're talking about right now, I think it's unlikely that they feel that way about Kaycee, or they would be saying we want to all group up together and actively vote for her. But
Okay.
so that's what I would say about that. Also, in terms of like, is Kaycee doing more socially? I also disagree with that. I have seen like the tweets that are like, now that people think that Kaycee might win the game, people are getting very bold about, oh well, look at what Kaycee's doing. She's comforting Haleigh while she's sad, or like this is why Kaycee might win the game. But it's like they're tweeting those things as Tyler has a like 2-hour conversation with Haleigh, and they're like laughing together and being very social, and like Tyler is definitely still doing a lot of like, this is Tyler's specialty, is social work. I think he's done more than Kaycee. I think that most of Kaycee's bonds have been with Bayleigh, who she pissed off a lot right before she left, and then with the level 6 people who don't really respect her game all that much, and then other than that, she doesn't really have that many individual connections. She kind of talked to Rockstar a little bit, but not much. She actually argued with Rockstar a lot. And we're looking through rose-colored glasses because we're looking at it from a results perspective of Kaycee might win the game. But if you looked at it like, if you heard the jury was bitter toward Kaycee, which they might be, you'd be like, well, of course they are. Look at how much she yelled at Scottie. Look at how much she yelled at Rockstar. She barely talked to these people. It really just like the lens that you look at these people really influences how you're going to judge them. And so I don't want people to be like, well, clearly, let's invent reasons for why, this might be the case or whatever.
I do think that she is not a terrible winner if she gets to the end. By the way, I also wanted to, and I don't mean to take up your time, but I also wanted to tell you this because I said I asked him if I could bring this up, and he said it would be okay. So I was chatting with Steve Moses, as I do, and just talking with winners of Big Brother. That's just what I do, people. And he was talking about the fact that every other jury since Steve has been bitter. And he was talking about and I know you're not going to agree with this, Taran, but Steve obviously thinks it's true. BB Can 6 was bitter. 19 was bitter. 18 was bitter. OTT was bitter. Celebrity Big Brother was bitter.
OTT.
I kind of feel like it was a little bit bitter.
I don't think OTT was.
OTT didn't have a jury.
I know.
Yes, but we were the jury, and I was voting for Morgan.
Just a little bit. I mean, I love Morgan, and I was also voting against.
Are we saying of course the audience is bitter every single year if we're counting that as a bitter jury?
The only person who hasn't won because of a bitter jury since Steve is Kevin. My question is that even if you allow that, so okay, OTT is not bitter. From my perspective, it kind of was. Even though I love Morgan, I was really voting against Jason. I just wanted Morgan. I love Morgan because I hated Jason so much. So my love for Morgan has grown as the years have gone on. But at the time, it was like anybody but Jason. And I don't really want Chrissy to win either. So, that's where I was coming from. My question is, why is this happening so much lately? Like, if we do get a bitter, quote unquote, jury from Faute and they end up voting as a block and they end up voting for someone like Kaycee, who, would be not the best choice if she's up against somebody like Tyler, why does this keep happening in recent years? Is it just because, everybody's so butthurt about their own damn feelings and they can't get over themselves? Or why does this happen all the time?
Well, I would say, again, and we kind of addressed this during Big Brother Celebrity, but I think one thing that you have to realize is that 2 of these times were the same person, Paul, who just is really bad at jury management. And then one of them was Big Brother Celebrity, which, Ross was really bad at jury management. I tried to tell people all season long, but he was very bad at it, and it was an unsequestered jury, which definitely adds to that. And then I would dispute that Big Brother Canada 6 was a bitter jury. I think that everyone in Big Brother Canada 6 voted for Paris. They really wanted her to win. Okay. Even if you think that that part of that was because they didn't like
Kayla.
Wow, I was thinking Kaycee.
Wow.
I was like Kaycee. Even if you think they didn't like Kayla, they did like Paris, and they were voting for Paris. And so that's definitely not the same as screw you, Ross, we'll never vote for you. We also don't like Marissa, but we're fine giving it to her as long as it's not you, Ross. And then I'd even say that Big Brother 18, I don't think that was a very bitter jury. I think that Davon voted for Nicole. I think that Paulie and Corey obviously voted for Nicole. And you could maybe say that Natalie voted against Paul, but even then, that's maybe one one vote. Like, I don't think that was a very, very bitter jury. I think Nicole had a lot of votes for her. So I think that the bitter juries that you can look at are Big Brother 19 and Big Brother Celebrity and maybe a little bit Big Brother 18 because Paul lost a couple of votes. But again, that includes one of the same, like the same person that caused it twice,
right.
and then Ross, who was on a celebrity season where you have to be very careful of egos, and an unsequestered jury, and which I think had a lot to do with it. I think in terms of unsequestered juries, every single season we've had with an unsequestered jury has had a bitter jury. Season 2, they were super bitter against both of them, but they had to give it to one of them, and it happened to be Will.
I think I'm sorry. I think Xavier makes this point. I agree that there were a lot of votes that were for Nicole during 18, but she won by one vote. So even if there was one bitter vote, it was that vote that made the difference. I feel like in some ways that's why Steve looks at 18 as being a bitter jury, even though most of them were not.
And that's why I'd maybe give it I don't think it was a bitter jury as a whole, but I think that Nicole won due to the bitterness of a few key members. But she also lost a jury vote because Michelle was bitter. So, it's give and take.
Works both ways. Okay.
But like I said, like unsequestered juries, Big Brother 3 obviously had an unsequestered jury. They were very bitter. Big Brother 4, when they were shown the tapes, they were incredibly bitter.
Right.
So anytime there's an unsequestered jury, I think there's going to be a bitter jury. You have to watch out for that. So I don't think it's as much of a trend as people think. If it happened this season, this is the first time I'd be like, okay, maybe because we've been seeing so many bitter jurors because of these specific reasons, maybe it's starting to become learned behavior, and maybe now we're starting to see a trend form if it happens this season, because I don't think that anybody except for maybe Brett, maybe Angela, has done anything to deserve a truly bitter jury against them. Honestly, even Angela and Brett, I feel like, yes, they've been a bit harsh in their goodbye messages, but they've otherwise been pretty nice to people for the most part. They haven't, nothing to the level of Paul. Even Ross, who I feel like was a bit worse in his jury management than these two. But I could see it being justifiably bitter if the jury was bitter against them. But definitely not if it was if they decided let's give the win to Sam, then I'd be like, okay, this is becoming a trend. This is unfortunate.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the season, and we'll have some analysis afterwards, of course.
I also think it comes down to speeches and goodbye messages and everything like that, because I could see a situation where Kaycee wins over Tyler justifiably because Tyler can't really explain his game very well. He doesn't take the time to convince them that he was actually the mastermind. He kind of just hopes that they already know it. And then Kaycee's able to show comp wins and social aspect of it. I feel like if Tyler can't step up with his explanation of his game, that's where I feel like we could see a Kaycee win, not because of a bitter jury, but just because they don't know that Tyler's done anything. And so I could see that happen.
And that does bring me to a point that has been talked about is Tyler mentioned that he wants to explain to Scottie in his goodbye message what happened. And okay, Scottie, explain afterward. Instead of explaining before that he's going to go home, where they're going to blindside him, and then Tyler's going to explain afterwards. Now that Tyler knows that the battle back is over, that everything's done, do we think that Tyler is going to come out and be like, hey, Scottie, I just, I'm sorry that this had to happen, but I have a final two with everyone else in the house at this point, so somebody had to go. Also, I'm actually a super fan of the show. I've watched it since I was a kid. I love this show. I've been playing very hard all season long, and unfortunately you were in a spot that you needed to go this week. Should Tyler and will Tyler, do you think, be actively now campaigning to explain his game and work people in his goodbye messages now that he knows there's no chance that they're going to come back again?
Right.
I think he should be.
I definitely think he should be.
Especially to Scottie. I think Scottie, if Scottie knows that Tyler, I think the super fan secret is a huge win for Tyler. I think that
I agree.
Just explaining I'm a super fan and I hid that from you, that alone will immediately turn their opinions. They think that he's dumb. They think that he's easily manipulated. The second they hear, no, he's actually a secret super fan and you never knew,
yeah,
they're gonna take a whole step back and reevaluate everything that he's done in the game. So
by the way,
yeah.
I just want to tell people really quickly. They're like, number one, we haven't seen Tyler's goodbye messages. Stack said that, I think, in the chat. Whether we see them or not, like the house guests will see them. The house guests get to see everybody's goodbye message. Number two, your goodbye message can be as long as you want it to be, and you can edit it as many times as you want. I mean, we might see an edited version on the show, but the house guests in jury will see whatever the goodbye message is that you left for them. So if you want to take, minute and a half to 2 minutes to explain exactly what happened and what you needed to do and why somebody needed to go home and what you were really doing behind the scenes, take that time to do that. Go as long as they'll let you talk. And
they might have a time limit, but yeah.
I'm sure they might have something like, you can't talk for 10
hour.
minutes or something. But I feel like there is enough time where you can get across the points that you need to make. Actually, I feel like the more people talk in general, the worse it is for them. So I feel like the more concise you are, listen to me, the person who talks forever. But, I know, right? The more concise you are, I feel like the better off your goodbye message will be. Getting this point, girl, bye.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that the reason we haven't seen Tyler's is because they were probably incredibly bland, and,
boring,
because
bland,
he probably
like
anticipated that there was a potential battle back. So I'm hoping that was the reason why they've been bland, and that from now on he will be a little more open and start to work the jury a little more in his goodbye messages. Because unfortunately, we saw Johnny do this in Big Brother Canada 6, where he would sit people down before they left, and he explained to Ryan, "Hey, I've been a super fan," and he really got Ryan on his side before Ryan left the house, and then of course Ryan comes back in, which is exactly why Tyler's not going to do this. But also in this season, the whole expose things in your final speech is a huge thing, so you can't really explain things to them before they leave. So we'll see how that works out with the goodbye messages. All right, one more thing. We have to go through who we think Fessy's going to vote for. This should be pretty quick. I think it's fairly obvious for the most part. The audience thought Haleigh number one with a bullet. Yep. JC next, then Scottie. I think that's all on board here. Then they think Tyler next, which I do feel like is correct. It's basically it's Tyler. Or I actually think Brett has a good shot at it, and I actually think Kaycee, if he wants to be a bitter Betty, which he talked about, he was like, "Oh, watch, we'll just vote for Kaycee. That would be like the best outcome ever." So if he wants to be bitter, I think it'll be Kaycee. If he wants to vote for who he thinks played the better game, it'll be Tyler. If he wants to vote for who Haleigh tells him to vote for, I think it would be Brett. So I think all three of them have a great shot at this number 4 slot. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Then the audience said Sam after Tyler, then Kaycee. I don't think, again, if he wants to be bitter, maybe, but I think really going to vote for Sam?
Sure. I don't agree
especially
with
if
that.
she was mean to Haleigh. There's no way he's going to be like, "Oh yeah, cool, I'm going to vote for her." No.
There's no.
And Haleigh wouldn't let him.
Yeah, that's the thing. Haleigh would not let him.
Haleigh will if they do end up voting bitter, I think Haleigh will probably save us from a Sam win because she hates her so much. That's a positive.
And Fessy will do what Haleigh wants.
And let's hope they don't make up before Haleigh leaves the house.
Oh God.
So then we've got Kaycee after Sam, says the audience, then Brett, then Angela in the final spot here, least likely. Angela remains the least likely person to win all 3 jury votes according to the audience.
And yet, here's the thing: I still feel like she can win. Yeah. I don't feel like she's drawing dead at this point. I feel like that she gets to the end with somebody who is, look. I feel like she really needs to lean hard into the. You know what? I came in here as a woman. I kicked ass. I took names. I won comps. I did it with ice water in my veins. She needs to have whatever she has in these goodbye messages. I feel like in some ways she needs to carry that with her into her final 2 speech. Look, she needs to be empathetic and get to know people. Not get to know people, but have some empathy for them when she's talking to them and own her shit. But I feel like that the more she leans into the, you know what? I was a kick-ass woman and I came here to play. I feel like she can get Rockstar's vote, and I feel like that there are other people's votes that she can get. As I can't remember who it was. I can't even pronounce her name in the chat, but she was like, Rockstar will vote for She was talking about an LGBT ally, but I also feel like Rockstar will vote for a woman over an entitled male or entitled white male, and she put like the trademark on it, which I thought was really cute. Like, she'll never vote for, quote, entitled white male. She will always vote for a woman or an LGBT person over that man. So just know that Rockstar's what's going to go there. And go ahead, Melissa. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, I think everyone is, I don't think that Angela has a 0% chance of winning. I do think that there's a chance that I could see Angela win. And I think that if she gets down to the end and she starts saying in these goodbye messages, like, I think the goodbye messages and the speeches are going to be critical for a lot of these people. I mean, especially when you've got a group of 4 people all in an alliance together. And some of them are not really distinguishable from one from the other, I guess, in terms of like their strategy and accomplishments and all that. I think the speeches are really going to matter. And I think that if Angela I think that if Angela does a good job with her speeches and really explains her game and it's like, look, like, nothing's personal. Like, this is a game I really came here to play. I came here to win, like, blah, blah, blah. I could see a win for Angela. So, yeah.
It's funny because we've been talking about Kayla. I feel like Angela is the closest analog to Kayla in terms of like having a showmance, being a cutthroat woman, and might have the same outcome as well, where she didn't make enough personal connections with the jury. So
I really hope. The other thing, if we don't get what we want in terms of like a Brett HOH or a JC HOH when we want them to take a shot, what I want is an Angela HOH. So she continues to
stab Haleigh.
Yes, that's what I want. Yeah, so that would be glorious to see her stab Haleigh in the back, and after she's been hanging out with her all week. So I want more of that.
I'd like to see Kaycee do something, to be honest.
Yeah,
I want to see how
true.
Kaycee handles betrayal.
That's true. Yeah.
All right. So we do have a question from Riley Wigmore, who wants to know, now that we are getting to the end game, and since this has been such a highly regarded season, which potential winners would maintain this season's legacy, decrease, or even improve it? So if we're going through the winners, like, who would essentially tarnish the season? Who would, have a kind of be okay on the season? Who would improve the season if they won it? I think we can all get out of the way. If Sam won this season, it would definitely kind of
major letdown.
I think for me, if any of JC, Brett, or Tyler win, I know JC isn't exactly popular right now, but I think it would be a hell of a ride to get there. I think that would all three of those would be great. I personally think an Angela or Kaycee win would be perfectly fine. I think it would be on track for how we've been rating the season so far.
Right as you said that, Craig in the chat is like, Kaycee or Angela win kills the season for me. So yeah.
And honestly, if Haleigh somehow managed to get to the end and win, I think that would elevate the season. I think that,
I agree.
I've been incredibly low regarding her gameplay all season long, but if she managed to get there and it was like her doing, like she didn't just like completely back her way into it, I think that would be an incredible run, and that would be amazing to watch. So
I think we're heading for a good winner regardless. I think that minus Sam, but
exactly.
I think that, like, for the most part, we've gotten out a lot of people who honestly, I feel like this season is very different from the others, because I feel like there's a lot of people, even people who are already out of the house, that if they had somehow made it to the end, it would be impressive. And I liked what they were doing before they left. I feel like normally there's like maybe half the house, maybe a little bit more, that I'd be like, oh, I'd be so disappointed if any of these people won the game. And I don't feel that this season, especially now. We've got a really, really good crop of people still left in the house that I'd be excited about a win. I mean, because any of them getting to the end there's got to be some sort of journey that happens, and it'd be exciting.
Yeah, Christina in chat is like, no way, that's awful, Taran. A Haleigh win would be awful. Christina, I don't agree with that. And the reason why is because in order for Haleigh to win, her path would be something like this. Like JC or Brett wins HOH this coming week, takes a shot at Angela. The trust between level 6 is broken, and now it's a complete free-for-all, and it's every man for himself. And if she gets herself to the end through that way, I think it would be somewhat impressive. And
if Haleigh gets to the end,
we would be standing her. Yes.
She's got a tough road to the end.
Right.
Like,
as things stand right now,
Yeah.
it would be terrible. But if she actually got there, it'd be amazing.
Exactly. Like the storyline, like very Chris Daughtry from
Yes.
Survivor Vanuatu.
I've been watching that too. Oh my god, amazing!
Wow, you're really watching everything, Brent.
I know, right?
But like I said, if it's the case where like Brett and JC take a shot and then she just kind of like again like continues to try to win HOH in order to take Sam out of the game and just never succeeds at taking Sam out of the game. And it's like if she ever did win a competition, she would have lost because she would have taken this horrible turn. And so then she happens to back into a win. No, that wouldn't be exciting. But if Brett and JC take a shot and then boom, level 6 is exposed and finally the light hits her and she realizes, oh my god, and she makes up with Sam and she gathers some allies and like starts actually working and playing the game well and gets herself to the end. I think that'd be an incredible story, and I think that despite our your feelings for her right now, I think those feelings would change because she would go from a very bad player to a potentially halfway decent player, and that would be fun to watch. So.
Oh, by the way,
I don't expect it to happen. No.
Kayla from the chat had a question that we missed, and she makes a good point because we've always had this opinion that if you're in the final 2, you're not eligible for America's Favorite Player. But then in Celebrity Big Brother, Ross was in the final 2, and he won America's Favorite Player. So she asked, Ross won America's Favorite Player on Celebrity Big Brother, and he was the final 2, and I thought he would win. So do you think you can win the game and America's Favorite Player? Chat wants to know. I actually, to answer this question, I do think, believe it or not, that given how popular Tyler is across the board with many people, that if he wins this season, I can see a way where CBS and Allison Grodner would be like, and you're also America's Favorite Player. Congratulations. Maybe you disagree, you guys, but I feel like there's a way.
They might have changed the rules, or there might not have been rules to begin with, and it's just like a matter of like, do we want to give it to one of the top 2?
Right.
Nah, not this season. So it's honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
I feel like in some ways the America's Favorite Player was a make good to Ross. Like, the jury hates you, but America doesn't. Don't worry. I feel like that's kind of why they gave it to him, but I feel like on another season they probably would have given it to one of the jurors. But that's just my take.
It might also have been a thing where like he won by such a wide margin that like they're like everyone will be disappointed if Ross didn't get it.
I think the same thing could happen with Tyler, where it could be like 60% for Tyler and everybody else is like 15% or lower.
Yeah, if it looks like my poll, then it would be pretty weird if he didn't win.
Yeah.
All right. Katiuska wants to know who will be the most vulnerable, not counting Haleigh if she survives next week, for the double eviction. So we're looking at probably a double eviction at the end of next week. When that happens, excluding Haleigh from the pool here, who is the most vulnerable at this point in time? I would personally say I think Sam, Angela, and Brett are the 3 most likely people to leave in a double eviction. And JC is there with a small chance, but like I said, he's so bad at competitions that I feel like if he's sitting next to Sam, Angela, or Brett, I think those people all go home. So those would be my picks. You agree, Melissa?
Yeah, I agree. I think JC could be in there too, just like you said. But yeah, that sounds about right to me.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. I actually do think there's a way JC could go home if Angela wins HOH, Haleigh wins the veto. I don't know. Sam probably goes home then. So I don't know, but I think that's about right.
Yeah, well, I guess I could see JC leaving over Sam if JC.
We're talking about the double eviction. So in this scenario, Haleigh's probably gone from the house. So because the double eviction would be the following Thursday. So yeah, I don't know. Once Haleigh's gone, like the thing is, remember, if Haleigh is on the block, there's going to be a pawn on the block with her, and I think there's a good chance that the pawn could actually be JC and not Sam. It depends on how things shake out, but I think there is a non-zero chance of that. And if he ends up on the block as a pawn, he is going to be pissed. And so I feel like that would lead to more fun in a double eviction where definitely Angela's butt would be on the block.
Yeah, it could definitely be Sam or JC. I think it depends on who like pisses off Tyler the most before the eviction. Like, is JC being a detective too much, or is Sam being like, you remind me of a rattlesnake too much? It's really dependent on
I really
which way
want
the scales
Tyler.
are going.
I know he's not going to, but I so want him to betray JC, because JC's freaking out. He's like, you're all I have in this game. Like I've had a crush on you since the beginning, and I put all my eggs in your basket, my knight in shining armor. Don't turn your back on me. And he's realizing he might turn his back on him, and I really want to see that happen, Taran.
Yeah. JC would be so bitter too.
I know, right? Oh gosh, it would be great. He'd be like Otts than Judas bitter.
All right. Walt Reed wants to know, now that the Battleback twist is a flop due to the revolving door, can we finally say they're finished with twists this season? Are we done with? Was the Battleback the final twist of the season? I'm inclined to think yes, and I'm not usually very optimistic about Big Brother seasons, but they usually don't do late game. I don't even want to finish that sentence because I don't want to jinx it. But,
just don't jinx it.
Don't jinx it.
But I agree. I agree with your sentiment.
Yeah.
I have a better question. So this is the question I apparently missed. If Tyler takes Angela to the final two, Kayla asks, could that lose him respect from the jury because it may be seen as an emotional move versus a strategic move? So that's what I want to know from you guys. Do you think
that's interesting?
Yeah, Taran, go ahead. Or whoever.
Well, I do think it's I think that he could win respect by cutting her because people don't like her and they would love to see her be cut from the game. But then at the same time, I do think he can explain it by saying, look, Scottie came into the house and said you were all pissed at her and that you would never vote for her. So that's why I changed my mind. I was going to take Kaycee, but I changed my mind and I took Angela.
Thanks, Scottie.
Right?
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, if I were Tyler and this wasn't a season where people out things in final speeches, I would be talking to Scottie and be like, Scottie, who should I bring to the final two? And just like make sure I ask that question of Scottie so that when Scottie says Angela, I'm like, okay, well, that's why I got credible information that the jury, that way Scottie can go, I told him to take Angela. Why did you do that? They blame Scottie for why Tyler takes Angela instead of Tyler. Yeah. But I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think he can do that because then, when Scottie does his eviction speech, it'd be like, guess what, guys? Tyler asked me who he should take to the final two. Guess who he's taking? Angela. And that would be annoying for Tyler to deal with. So, what are you going to do? But I do think there's a chance they could lose respect for him. But he has a lot of outs, I guess, is my answer.
By the way, Jeff in the chat is like, I want a secret POV to come through the floor and save Scottie. What are you talking about, Jeff? He's already had 4 flipping chances. Again,
he's not doing anything with his chances.
Yeah, what the hell? Give it to somebody who's at this point, I'd rather a secret POV come up to save Tyler because he's actually playing the damn game and we're working hard at it. Scottie's just watching the show from inside the house. I'm so over him at this point. Sorry.
All right.
Yelling at the chat again.
A question from Mike Zahn. Less of a question, more of a call out to the audience. Mike says, "How is it possible that the Roundtable doesn't have a theme song? I'm challenging all musically crafted individuals or duos to create one by next week."
The Taran Show had a theme song on the second flipping episode when I was there. And
we've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, and we just start the show with "Hello, everybody." We have no theme song, so we need one. Somebody help us out.
Well, there you go. The call has been issued. If anyone wants to make a theme song for the Roundtable podcast,
I have one more question. So Karen Foster asks via Stacked, who sent me the DM. Thank you, Stacked. I appreciate your help. Is there any chance that the jury women will stick to a woman winning in the final two? Do you think that, perhaps could Angela get Rockstar's votes? I do think there is many scenarios where she could potentially get her vote, but I'm curious what you think, Melissa.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that there's a situation where people would vote for a woman over a man, totally. So
and say, you know what, we want a woman to win.
That. Especially if the people in the final are say Brett and a woman. I could see Rockstar being like, we have to give it to Angela. We have to. We can't give it to Brett. Brett wins everything. He's a white male, whatever she wants to say. So, yeah, I could totally see that happening. And I could see Rockstar, Rockstar will push her agenda. like really hard. And you've seen her do that with the whole, like, I mean, when she was in the house. So I could absolutely see that happening.
There was a lot of talk of that in the house, but there was also a lot of talk of a women's alliance, and that didn't exactly work out. So,
yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
You could even say that, like, okay, they wanted to have a women's alliance with Angela, and she said no. So we're not going to vote for her.
Yeah,
the sentiment, so I could see that.
The sentiment existed, and it existed with Angela, and then Angela went and betrayed the Amazon.
Yeah.
So it absolutely it exists. It could come back, but I'm not. I don't think it's like super crazy likely. But it's definitely out there. But I think that's anything else that you guys want to bring up. We also need a hashtag in the chat if you guys want to let us know if you have any ideas for a hashtag. But anything else that you guys wanted to bring up before we wrap up here?
I think we're good. I did have somebody who asked something really quickly. Can Tyler win points in a final pitch by revealing his unused power app? I mean, I can answer that question. Yes, obviously, and he should. He'd be a complete idiot not to bring it up. Like, Tyler should tell them everything in his final two speech and his goodbye messages. He really should lay it on the line. I don't know if he has to tell him his power necessarily in a goodbye message. I feel like, maybe the inner workings of the house and why he had to evict somebody would be more important, but definitely in his final two speech. But he has to do it in such a way where he's not bragging, but just note that it was something that a useful tool, and he kept it secret that this whole time because he is a super fan of the game. I agree with Taran's assessment. The fact that he's a super fan, that really that holds so strong for him. He really, really has a great card to play. I think Josh would have probably won last year without playing it, but I think his final two speech was even the better for the fact that he really leaned hard into that and made people feel even a little bit better about voting for him. So, yeah, definitely use it. Use everything you can and lean hard into the super fan angle.
Yeah, and I think he needs to get this information out before the final speeches too, because
there's not enough time then. There's not enough time because that Faute is all going to be talking to each other beforehand and being like, all right, let's get our story straight. Like, this is who we're voting for.
And the best
blah,
thing
blah, blah.
is the fact that it appeared on the board. Remember when the cloud appeared on the screen, and he could be like, remember that thing? That was actually my power. And I was so pissed when they revealed it, and I had to work really hard to make sure that none of you guys knew about it. Like, I feel like that helps him even more.
And I never even had to use it.
Yeah.
So yes, looking at hashtag revolving door.
Groundhog Week, yeah.
Yeah, Groundhog Week, that's good. All right, so make sure you tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. I'll update you on everything that has been going on the feeds today. We will, of course, be live tomorrow after the Wednesday night episode of Big Brother 20, and then we will recap the live eviction episode as well. Got plenty of stuff for you there. Check me out on Twitch, Taran Armstrong. Follow me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. You can follow Brent at One Lucky Gay. You can follow Melissa at It's Melissa with 3 A's, 3 of them. So for Brent and Melissa, I am Taran Armstrong. Hashtag Groundhog Week. We'll see you next time.